entombed for 3,000 years, wrath growing in me. I have lived an eternity, suspended in darkness. Release me. Condemned and bound, the sands of time have run out. Curtis fills the room, curiously open my tomb. Rising from the cradle of death, my sentence has come to an end. Release me, release me, wasting and running. Release me, release me. My curse is your curse. Death is the gift I bring. Revenge in my hands. I feel no remorse. This is the mommy's curse. Release me, release me, wasting and running. Release me, release me.
A dreaded flag, a vengeful sea. Be careful what you say. There's always someone listening. The Dutchman tossed on the sea. I swore and the devil heard me. Now we're doomed to sail the 7 seas for eternity. So yo-ho, let the ocean winds blow. The line forever we must flow. We sail through them, cursed and condemned. Yo-ho, let the ocean winds blow. A sinister grin across his face said, you'll be doomed to this place. The devil heard my oath, shame of my boast. Oh, a ghostly ship from the depths, freedom from fear is the only gift of death. Yo-ho, let the ocean winds blow. The line forever we must flow. We sail through them, cursed and condemned. Yo-ho, let the ocean winds blow. If you cast your eyes, you'll join us like those before. We're an omen of the ocean night. When you see the flying Dutchman, it's too late for your soul. To the waters we gave now our grave. Yo, ho, let the ocean winds blow. The line forever we must flow. We sail through them, cursed and condemned. Yo, ho, let the ocean winds blow. Yo, ho, let the ocean winds blow. The line forever we must flow. We sail through them, cursed and condemned. Yo, ho, let the ocean wind blow.
Hey, folks. Welcome to Paranormal Roundtable. I'm your host, Josh Turner, and this is PRT. Hope everybody's had a good week. Mine has been absolute hell on earth, but that's okay. It's going to hopefully get better. We are in the process of moving, and moving is always not fun. It's hard. It's a lot of pain in the ass. Let me get everybody going here. Let's bring on Joe Breezy. Let me get my headphones in. I always forget to do this so I can hear what this man is saying. I could not understand what this man was saying. Joe,
What up, man?
what's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
Let's bring
How you
Monica
been?
on while
I
she's
mean,
talking.
other than moving.
You're watching me backstage run around.
Play that again. There you go. That's Monica's got her own theme music now.
I do.
She's arrived. She has arrived.
At least it's not like a gong or something.
So I was on last night with Abe, and we ended up getting like 150 people in there at like 4 a.m. or something. It was pretty good. On
Man, night owls.
And was in the comments section. But unfortunately, it was hard because I had to use my cell phone. I couldn't use the computer to get, so it had to be, I had to do my phone, and it was, people were like, we can't hear you. You sound like you're on a wow. I'm like, well, I had my cell phone on my desk there, and there's like junk everywhere because we're moving. It sucks. But you know what? We found some interesting things while we were moving yesterday. We found, let's see, what have I found so far? I found 3 missing pocket knives.
There you go.
Found a firearm that I thought was cool. I was like, dang. So that was cool. I found a whole bunch of ammunition. We found a bottle of liquor. It was a Redbreast liquor. And then we found some gold bullion and a bunch of silver.
Nice.
So that was cool. We found all kinds of neat things. I found all kinds of stuff. I found some shoes that I thought had been gone forever. My wife was like, those were supposed to be in the trash. I'm like, yeah, I found them.
Found knives, guns, liquor, and
gold.
silver.
It's a treasure hunt.
Pirate's booty.
Right.
Pirate's booty. They're like, he's talking about stealing and being a pirate and booties. This man is terrible. Somebody said, did we find Jimmy Hoffa? Not yet, but the old Giant Stadium is where he's supposedly buried.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I used to work with the guy whose uncle, this guy, he was Italian, and I worked with him. He was one of my associates for a long time. And I used to always tease him or whatever, because he was a quintessential, he looked like a cartoon bad guy. Like he was the kind of kid that probably when he was 14, he had 5 o'clock shadow. He just always had this gray right here. It was like from even if he shaved. His name is Jack. I've talked about him before. He's one of my good friends. And his mom and dad are Italian, straight up. They're from Brooklyn. And he talks like this, you know. But he's a really smart guy. And I'll never forget, I have a funny story there's a couple of them about him, but there was this story that he told me about his uncle. He goes, my uncle knows where Jimmy Hoffa was buried. And because we were talking about, mysteries and things like that. And at the time, we're talking about like ghosts and Bigfoot. And I'm like, get out of here. We're not talking about Mafia hits. And then later on, I was like, actually, that's kind of interesting. But it was the same story, that he was buried in the corner end zone of Giant Stadium. So I look up, that particular end zone. And what do you see? I see Michael Irvin catching a pass right there, the touchdown. I'm thinking, wow. Possibly just below him is Jimmy Hoffa inside of a barrel. That's a weird thing to think about,
That is.
So yeah, that is that's a weird thing. But yeah, that's, I've always wondered about that. Like if that's, but he says, yeah, my uncle was involved with them. His uncle knew the guys that did it. And it was very much.
Knew was the guy.
I know a guy.
Yeah, so that straight up Italians there, but that's La Cosa Nostra, and a lot of other, ethnic mafias. I dealt with a whole bunch of them back in the day, a lot of different types of people, some very, very scary people. I would say one of the scariest group of people I encountered, the Triads, the Pacific Rim gangsters were pretty bad, but the Armenians. The Armenians in Houston I used to have to go there and I'd have to sit in their strip club because I bodyguarded a guy, and they were pretty intense, man. I mean, they were like, they were pretty intense people. And then of course there were Russians, but there were different types of Russians, there were 2 or 3 different groups. There was a Jewish Russian mob, and then there was the Chechens. They were pretty intense. And then there was a group of Russians that were a prison gang. And they all had these like star tattoos on their chests, and they were pretty intense too. So some of those gangs were pretty rough. You deal with them and you're just kind of like, ugh, you gotta be careful, man. You gotta be careful. About the time I started to change my life, the El Salvadorians were starting to come in. They were starting to pour in, and they were still foot soldiers for the different cartels. But there again, they were a pretty rough trade. First time I saw gangsters with tattoos all over their faces, I was like, holy shit, man, these dudes, they just announce it right here, like on their eyelids and stuff. And you're like, damn, dude, like, I don't care. It was just like, I mean, once you're putting them on your face, you say, this is it. This is my life now.
Yeah, that's your only job from now on.
I mean, I got tattoos all over like me, but they're covered. Like, I mean, if you saw me at the conference, you saw them on my legs, my lower legs, but I have them on my shoulders, my back, my chest, whatever. But you don't see them. Like I can still sit down with the client and be like, yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. You know what I mean? It's like, not these guys. These guys are like, y'all want a job? And they're like, it says, I'll kill you on your face. What is that? Walmart greeting is probably not going to be for you. They'd be like, well, that's not really what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be doing like my own enterprise. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to be selling stuff at the front. You know what I'm saying? You're like, oh, okay. So you're going to have a second job within a job. Yeah, man. That's right. Yeah, that's how we're going to roll. Yeah, I think we're going to hire someone else. And then they're just like, no, I don't think so. Oh, okay. You know what? As of right now, you're hired. You're hired.
Welcome aboard.
Yeah, welcome aboard. You are now the new Walmart greeter. Give them a little something to take with them as they walk out the door.
A little gift with purchase.
Back when Walmart was 24 hours, they'd come back. They'd be like, I just felt like I needed some more stuff. I don't know.
I miss 24-hour Walmart.
I used to live with the person who had a meth problem. I didn't live with them long. It was not a long. He moved in, he rented a room, and he was up all hours of the day and night, and he was talking all the time. So I thought, this is a true story. I thought he was on the phone. No, he wasn't on the phone. He was just talking a lot. And I opened the door one day and I was like, "You okay?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah." And you're like, "Oh my gosh, okay, this may have been a mistake." And he wanted to clean the house at 2 and 3 in the morning. So I'd come home from work because I was at, I worked at a nightclub. And me and my brother come home and this dude's like cleaning the house and stuff. And he's like, "Yeah, I just thought I vacuum. You know what? I thought I saw some people in the backyard. We need to be real careful." And I'm like, "What the hell is this dude's fear and loathing going on in my house? I don't need this." His name was Jason. Didn't last long. And I was like, "Yeah, I don't think this is going to work out." So, and he had he played a saxophone. So Scorpion, we finally made him leave because Scorpion poured dish soap into his saxophone.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, he left. He poured it into his motorcycle helmet too. And we were just like, "Yeah, you might want to leave, dude," because he says, I'm staying here. I got rights or whatever. And we're like, "No, there's ways to make people leave. You don't have to beat them up. You just make them leave other ways,
To make them super uncomfortable.
Just make them very uncomfortable." And then the police came and knocked on the door, and I was very upfront about it. I said, the guy does meth. And he goes, "How do you know?" I was like, "Because we found it." Right there. There it is. There's a pipe that was in his room. And they're like, "Oh, okay." And then they're like, "But he called us." I know. He's got the retardation. He's telling you, "Hey, these guys are kicking me out just because I did a little meth. What's the big deal?" Probably because it's illegal in 50 states. So that was it. Yeah, we had to get rid of him. That was a crazy. And then we see him downtown, and he's like, "I don't know what your problem was with me." Literally, he said that to us, and I'm like, "Well, it's a simple word. It's called methamphetamine." That was pretty much the problem. And then he said we couldn't prove it, and I was like, "No, yes, we could. That's why the police are still looking for you. We took pictures of it." And then he's like, "You tried to frame me." I was like, "No, that was your stuff." It literally was in your
Framed him.
Yeah, it was in his backpack, which he had his last name on. I was like, "Okay, no, that's yours."
Yeah.
Pretty messed up story.
It's labeled and everything.
Yeah, literally, the cop was like, "Is that his?" He has his last name right there. Like they rifled through it. I didn't touch it. We didn't look through. We didn't know it was in there until they said, "I was pretty sure, that's where it's at." And they looked through there and they were like, "Oh, okay, here it is." But he had left and had got on his motorcycle and got his saxophone and whatever.
His bubbly saxophone. So blowing bubbles down the highway as he's speeding away.
And then he moved in with a bartender at a club that we were friends with. At this one club that my brother and Scorpion both worked at. And the owner came to me and said he's dating this girl, and he tells her this story that it was the opposite. We were bad guys and that we had framed this guy, whatever. And I said, "Dude, no." And then right after he tells them this heart-wrenching story, he goes into the guy that owns the club, had his own private bathroom upstairs. He catches him in the bathroom doing it. Like right after he tells him the whole story was the opposite. So he walks in and he's like in there and he's doing it. And he's like, "Get the hell out of the club." So then later that night I come from my club and he tells me the whole story. And I'm like, "Yeah, that sounds about right." Yeah. And he goes, "Yeah, the dude was telling us all this, almost had me feeling bad for him, And I said, "Yeah, well, that's not what happened." And so, yeah, but I did admit, I said that the pouring of this dish soap and his motorcycle helmet and his saxophone, that part did happen, which could have been worse. I mean, we were not the get along gang back then. He could have gotten punched. He did not get punched or kicked. He just got, and he wasn't a real big tough guy or anything, but he was so wacky, dude. Like he tried to make macaroni. This is true. He tried to make macaroni and cheese without using water. Yeah. Not joking. My brother's right here. Look, my brother is, he said, my guitar playing scared. My brother's right there. He can tell you this dude was a real guy. And he really did that. So we come home and he's like, there's all this, "Hey, Abe, what's going on?" There's all this smoke coming out of the kitchen, and Scorpion goes in and he looks. And he's like, "Ah, dude, where's the water?" It wasn't macaroni. It was ramen noodles without water.
Well,
and so, yeah, the other day I was at my cousin's and his little daughter had done that, like when she was like 8. And I said, "Oh, yeah, I knew somebody who did that." And he goes, "Oh, a kid?" I said, "No, it wasn't a kid. It was a grown man that did that." And so it was kind of funny that this dude, he did that. And so, he was doing all these like crazy things. And then he would eat people's food that weren't his when he would come down off of that crap. And so I said, I think this guy's got some stuff going on. But yeah, true story.
I'd start lacing the food with some extras.
He didn't steal anything from us, which, I thought would be par for the course. But he definitely did some things, like he watched my movies. Like, I had a bunch of DVDs back then. This is before the age of everything was digital. And he would like watch them and then just throw them under the couch, which was
So
like, well, done watching Tombstone, under the couch. Like, what in the hell is wrong with this man? Like, so I find like 30 DVDs piled up under the couch. This is a true story. And I was like, what in the hell is wrong with this guy? So he lasted like 2 weeks maybe of this kind of behavior. And I said, okay, and it was more because the guys that I worked with, they were friends with him. They didn't live with him. They didn't know how he was. And one of them was the owner, and he's the only person I answered to. So the owner of the club felt sorry for him and says, can you let him crash on your couch? I said, yeah. Did not work out. And so I told my boss, I said, why don't you let him live with you?
Exactly.
And he was like, no, thank you. He'd already seen enough from him at work. I said, yeah, exactly. So, downtown in particular, you couldn't make that mistake of judging someone too quickly and thinking that they were good or bad, because you never know what kind of surprise was going to pop out. They were like a jack in the box. Meth, you don't know. You just don't know what's going to happen. It's like white supremacists. You're like, whoa, hey, I didn't expect that one there. I thought the tattoos were decorations. I didn't know that you really did. This is, who you are. Very proud of that too. You are very proud of that. They're like, yeah, man, I killed this guy in prison. He was darker than me. Like, oh, all right. Very fervent about it. No, there was some problems. There was some real problems down there. Like, you would start to feel sorry for someone when they'd start to tell you their backstory. My ex-boyfriend beat me, blah, blah, blah. All I did was try to kill our child. You're like, what? Wait, whoa, what? Like, I was over here feeling sorry for you, lady. How did you try to kill the child? I thought it was a turkey. I was on drugs. I was going to, what the freaking, and then it just goes completely left. And you're like, wow, now I feel used. It's just,
right.
It goes off, man. It goes crazy. But, so yeah, let's see here. See, on drugs, off. What the freaking heck you say? Well, Mickey, on drugs or off drugs, I always manage to make food, but I'm a decent. He said something else up here. He wasn't a culinary genius. No, he wasn't a culinary genius at all. He was worse than that. The guy was just nuts, man. Eventually, he burned all his bridges downtown. I don't know what happened to the guy, but he was crazy. The last time I saw him, he was working in one of those women's boutiques on Congress, and I was dating this other crazy woman, and but I was crazy too, so whatever. But I see her, she's like, I want to go into that store, and I saw him in there, and oh no, let's not go in that store. She goes, why not? I was like, that dress is ugly, and she's just like, why? Because I want it. I was like, yes. I was willing to have a fight with her all day just because I didn't want to deal with this guy. Well, she went in there anyway, and I was standing over there, and I was just like hoping this guy didn't see me. So I like pulled a dress up and was like turning my body to avoid. And then I just said, why am I hiding from this little skinny turd? I don't want to deal with the guy. So I put it back, and he's like standing right there when I pull it down. He's like right there. And he's like, hey, man, what's up? And he's still got the, look on his face. I'm like, oh, okay, you're emaciated and messed up. Okay, how's it going? He was just like, hey, man, that dress is on sale, Wolf. I'm like, yeah. Oh, no, you know what? It's not good. It's not my color. It's not my thing. I tried to put it back. And he starts following me around, apologizing for all this stuff. And I said, you know what? I really don't care. It's all water under the bridge. He goes, even though you guys poured soap all in my saxophone. And this girl that I'm with, she comes walking up, and she's like, what happened? And he's like, oh, these guys hated me. Oh, I don't even know what I did. And I'm like, oh, God. And so then he sat there telling her all these things. And then he would kind of preface it every now and then with, well, I was no angel. And I'm like, and then we leave. She's like, why did y'all torture that poor guy? I said, you know what? Sometimes people, you know what I mean? They're really messed up. They're the kind of Boil the Bunny type people. You know what I mean? And I told her, I said, he was messed up. He was a very messed up guy. And so I had to have Scorpion and D and Willie all kind of tell her the rest of the story. I just let them tell it. I said, look, we'll go eat dinner later and they can tell you everything that went on, not just me. Yeah. So let's see. What did D say? Though there were a couple of 3 a.m. Totino's pizzas that I passed out drunk on, I walk up to a smoky house. That was, I don't remember that. I remember Anthony doing that. I remember Anthony when he was a teenager nearly burned my house down.
Oh no!
And then D said his helmet too. Yeah, we put soap in it. You missed it, D. We already talked about that. We put the soap in his helmet. Yeah, that was pretty funny. But anyway, so it's the 30-minute mark. We got 212 people in here. We don't usually get a real big crowd on Fridays anyway. I think I blame Monica because people
That's totally me.
look at her. They're like, why?
Who wants to look at this? You know what? I got a bag over here I can put on my head. Cut some eye holes out. I'll caw in the background every now and then. I'm still alive.
So I'm super jealous. I'm super angry at Monica, and I'll tell you why. She's had Joe Breezy and Chris Garetano on the show, and for my money, I'm a much better looking guy. I don't know why.
I tried to ask you to come on, and you're like, "No, you didn't ask me properly."
Yeah, well, you got to ask. You got to ask nicely. You got to go through my secretary.
Who is?
There's a few people that I'm interviewing for that. Once that happens, you will talk to them about it, and we will work that out.
I'll go to
My
Nelly.
brother Josh was on fire last night. That's all I gotta say.
I did what?
You were on
You were
fire.
on fire last night, bro. When you popped on, I had a lot of positive comments on the YouTube.
Well, see, and Monica could be experiencing that, but she doesn't want to. She wants to go, with the pretty people like Joe and Garetano. I'm just not pretty enough. I'm just not bringing.
We'll get a bag for you, and we'll put some eyelashes on it.
Wow!
Blush.
Wow! I don't know if that'll help with my hump. I'm like, Master, you went with the pretty people.
What hump?
Why did you go with Joe Breezy and Chris Garetano? And you're like, well, obviously they don't have a hump and they look good. You're like, we have the beautiful people over here, and you were in the other line. See? Sorry.
Marilyn Manson song.
I thank you for that, Abe. Thank you for that compliment, man. I didn't feel like I did anything.
Oh man, the people, the comments that they were saying, and man, it's like. So you were on fire last night, man.
Well, that's great.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
You open up a lot of wisdom and knowledge and stuff to they like the show. A lot of viewers like the show. So I'm just letting you know.
Well, I'm glad they did. See, let that be a lesson to you, Monica. See what you could have had, but that's okay.
I could have.
You could have. You
don't think I can charm my way in?
I don't think so. I think I'm done.
I'll talk to Nelly.
See, why you got to do that? That's not fair. That is not fair. See, now you're going to try to go over my head. See, there again, you're going to the pretty people. Why you got to do that? I see how
they're the ones that get things.
Pretty people have their own gang. They have their own gang. Abe, we're not invited. We're not part of it. That's it. Look, yeah, do that. Do the little whatever. Yeah, that's fine. We'll do it. We'll keep it going here. So I had a question for you, though. I took exception to something that you said, Monica, and I was watching your show, and I got very confused. First, I get confused, and then, because I'm not smart, so I get angry.
And you get angry, okay.
I'm like, what? And then I just throw a fit. So my wife said, before you get all angry with Monica, she's like, maybe you should do your own research. And I said, look, let me tell you something. I've already done it.
Okay.
And so you said on one of your shorts, you said, now you want to tell the audience what you
I've
said?
done a couple of them, so you're going to have to give me a little more.
Tulpa
versus an egregor. And I am not wrong.
No, you are.
I am not.
You are wrong.
I am not wrong.
You are wrong, Leonidas.
I am not wrong.
I disagree.
All you want, an egregor is manifestation of the many.
Okay, yes, that I will attest to, but so is a tulpa, because I found nothing that says that a tulpa it has to be just a singular manifestation. It can be the manifestation of one, or it could be the manifestation of many. The egregor is actually something conjured up by many.
Mm-hmm. Through thought and belief.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. And a tulpa is typically something that is brought into being by prayers and meditations. And
Meditations, which can be from multiple people.
it's from a single source.
Where did you get this information?
From books and
From
stuff like that, where I read.
From completely wrong and outdated books. There was this one book, this one
There's
time.
this one book in junior high that I read one time on recess.
Yeah, I remember that one time when. Remember that one time? No, I don't remember that one time.
So no, I did research on it, and then there's this lady that I know. She has a master's degree in folklore, right?
There's a lady. Okay,
There
who's
is
this
a
lady?
woman. Her name is Piper CJ, and she has a master's degree in folklore. And she was explaining the difference between the two. Which I know I can read. I can add and subtract.
What can do math? I don't know if I agree with that. I think that assessment is not correct.
Well, I'm going to go with the person with the master's degree in folklore.
Well, you know what though, because I could find nothing. Like looking around for an hour and a half, I was like,
So you were just looking to prove me wrong, is what you were doing.
no, Monica.
Because that's really what it sounds like. Like, I didn't hear that before. She must be wrong. Which?
So what is
You added the last word. I didn't add that.
So what is a tulpa? And I mean, what are they? What you're talking about?
Well,
I mean-
do you want me to tell it, or do you want the witch to tell it?
No,
'Cause,
Monica.
can give
I
you
mean,
some-
So a tulpa, well, a tulpa and an egregor, they're both things that are brought into material, like reality, through like thoughts, prayers, meditations, or beliefs. And an egregor is a belief. So that's where like a group of people get together and they believe in something so much it manifests, like Slender Man, that kind of.
Mhm.
So it's done out of like witchcraft, necromancy.
No, that's probably closer to what a tulpa would be, because I believe that the golem was definitely a tulpa.
The golem. I've heard of the golem
Yeah.
before.
And you know, the rabbi wrote the prayer, he put it in its mouth, I believe.
Oh, are they like deities or something like that?
Are they what?
Like
They're
a
like
deity
they're,
or just a spirits being summoned?
No, they're
No,
not
it's
spirit
like
being summoned.
yeah. It's a being made out of clay, like a statue.
Well, that's what a
It has an
golem is.
open
Yeah.
mouth.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
the
see.
golem.
So it's
Oh,
like
that's what I
like a
thought.
statue that would come to life.
So 312 Art J has a good question. He says, is there any connection between
Chalupas.
Tulpa and Chalupas from Taco Bell?
You know, let's ask the crackhead.
Let's ask.
Where's the tweaker? He
Why
might
y'all
agree.
gonna
I
ask
don't
me?
know.
What are you gonna ask? Joe's like, I resemble that remark. Why are you gonna ask me? Why do I need to be involved in this? No, Monica, I promise you, I did not. My wife accused me of the same thing. She's like, oh, because Monica said that, you got to go and look it up to prove her wrong. I said, I want to know if I've been saying it wrong. That's all it is. Look, y'all can come at me any kind of way you want. All right, y'all can cook it, stir it, whatever you want to say. Look,
Everybody has the right to like believe what they want, even if they're wrong, Josh.
wow. That's really hard. That's kind of mean, actually.
I could be wrong. I mean, but I really don't think I am, and I will die on that hill.
Look, there's Nelly there over there. I did. Look, she's all bragging about it too.
Where's the origins?
Later.
I mean, where did they come from? These beings are you talking about? Did they summon them?
Well, don't ask me.
They're
I'm
not
stupid.
summoned.
Ask Professor Monica.
I mean,
She knows
where they
better.
originate from? Are they from like Irish folklore?
No.
or-
They're across everything. It's just it's something that is manifest. It could be anywhere. It could be in Ireland. It could be in the Caucasus Mountains. It could be in Southeast Asia. I mean, it's just
So
something
it's
that
like,
happens.
like a demon being summoned. In some
Yeah,
sort
but it's
of
not
way.
a
Like
summoning.
yeah,
Like,
it's like
A demon being
it's
summoned
a
is through a
manifestation.
ritual. Yeah. This isn't a ritual. It's just a bunch of people that believe in the same thing enough that it manifests itself.
like cult, like a cult. like where
Cult-like.
they,
Well, you're trying to group everything in. No, not like a cult. It could be people that don't even know each other, but they all collectively believe the same thing is real and it manifests.
Like
oh,
Siren
I see.
Man.
It's like, like the Bigfoot community when they're believing that the Bigfoot is Bigfoot. They gather up.
I mean, a good example is Slender Man, right? It was a creepy pasta story, and none of these people know each other, but everybody suddenly believes there really is a Slender Man. So people start seeing Slender Man, and it starts manifesting as a real thing.
Wow.
The demons manifesting as it. Because
You can think they're demons. I don't think they're demons because demons are summoned through rituals and spells.
They're being given power of belief, right?
Yeah.
Then they're able to manifest. If people are believing it, they're able to take that form because they're given the power of belief. So that's a spiritual opening, I would say.
I mean, yeah, you can argue that, sure. But I mean, I don't think they're demons.
I can hear Brother Judge Turner.
No, I was ordering a drink. So, because I need one now, listening to Monica talk all this craziness.
Yeah, I'm insane. Witch.
I got to be very judgmental now. I wish I had a white wig. I'm going to get one at Halloween. I think it'd be a nice touch.
I'll get one for you.
This is what you believe? Very judgingly,
Oh, well, I mean, you all can throw me in the river and see if I sink or
see if you float. The sad thing was, if you floated and you lived, then you were a witch. But if you died, then we were like, oh, she wasn't a witch. We shouldn't.
Right. And if you knew how to swim, then double witch. Like
you're burned at the stake and then re-drown just in case. I'm gonna say this. I did a lot of research on this back in the day, which, like Dane Cook says, was a Wednesday. I'm gonna quote him. And I did some research on this, and so when I heard you say that, I said, you know what, that's interesting. And it is all joking aside, no chuckle house here. Being completely honest, I honestly didn't. Even though Nelly goes, you're just looking it up to prove her wrong. I'm like, I'm not looking it up to prove her wrong. Look, no, I seriously was like, I want to know if I'm right or wrong. Booyah.
Everybody wants to know that, right?
Yeah, I can do it better. Look, I can do 3 of them like that. Okay, actually, okay, you got me on that one, but you don't have me on the Tulpa thing. I'm not completely sold on it yet. Thank you for that.
Fine. I'm not trying to sell people on it. I'm just saying
like Tulpa also be considered like a totem pole, like the natives used to. They have all these beans on there.
The deities. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, the deities. Would that be considered the same thing because they're believing in that, right? Something like that, right? The totem poles.
Well, the totems were just they were protection, right? They were the different totems for the tribe or the.
You don't even know what that is,
huh?
Louise, they don't even know what a totem is. My gosh, what is wrong with this woman?
God.
Besides being a witch, she just took the Lord's name in vain, and she doesn't know the difference between a tulpa and whatever that is.
See, you never heard of it. That's why.
I knew you were going to get on that. See how easy it is to trick you? Me and Joe talked. Lie for me, Joe. We talked earlier, didn't we, Joe?
I bet I talked to him more than you do. We'll fight over Joe now.
No, seriously, no. What happened was...
Would y'all just stop, please?
I want no one's side. Stop it. I love you both. Listen. No, I'm gonna be honest. Monica, okay, the egregor. This is what I understand, and this is the truth. This is I'm not joking. Not making fun of you or anything like that. But I thought that it was something that was summoned by a group. That's what I thought, and then. But the tulpa, I thought, was a thought form that could be created by one or more people. Because I looked into it, and what I found was that there were experiments that were done to create tulpas. And there were monasteries that did this, in Tibet, Kathmandu, places like that, where they actually did summon these beings. But it was done by the work of one or more monks. So why would it? But I never found anything that gave the definition of it having to be singular when it came to tulpa. Talking about tulpa right now.
So the tulpa is usually monk. Like, so when the origin of the Tulpa is, from Tibet, right? And it was usually a single monk that was like meditating and trying to manifest this thing.
Conjure it.
Yeah.
See, head trip, that's what we're all afraid of. That's why we're just going to agree to disagree with the angry woman. Because we know what she's all about.
I'm not kidding. I will die on that hill. But that's fine. I'm not trying to convince anybody, but just telling you.
You know what? There's going to be snakes in front of your
the wrong
porch.
way. Huh?
Brother Judge Tony, there's going to be snakes in front of your porch.
Yeah, I'm already.
No, I don't put them on the porch. I wait till you open the door and I throw them.
She throws them on you. Imagine just ding dong. You're all like half asleep thinking it's Amazon. The snake she just throws on you, turns around and walks away. You're like, wow. You're wrestling with this cobra. It's biting you on the face. And then before I die, I'm like, I take the cobra off and I'm like, Tulpa can be more than one person. And I fall over dead. I get the last word, even though
Monica the Snake Rollins.
Right. You know what I'll do?
Snake Rollins.
I'll write the definition on them. I'll have somebody hold them down and I'll get some chalk and write Tulpa equals one.
The snake.
Brother Joe Breeze is immune to him because he got bit, so he's immune to him.
Joe ain't even worried about it. Joe's like, take the other leg. Go ahead, try it. Go ahead. And he stomps it out. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Rub some dirt on it.
Next time you see him at a conference, he's wearing some boots. He got some snake skin boots. He's like, yeah, I had to kill a couple snakes. Legs swelled up a little bit, but I'm fine. I'm good. Yeah, I can tell you this though. I was really when I heard that, I thought, no way. I did not.
No way. She's got to be wrong.
Yeah, I did. I really thought you were wrong. I said Monica's smart, but maybe
she ain't that smart.
Yeah, she couldn't be that smart. You
something that Josh doesn't know.
You outsmarted the Bear King here, Wolf, the Bear King.
No way.
You outsmarted me.
Josh knows everything, Turner.
Yeah. I had to go down to the bear pub, the Iron Bear, and tell all my friends. I'm like, guys, you know what? This woman outsmarted me. It was horrible. I was just and I danced the night away. It was.
She had this huge snake. It was insane.
Huge snake. They're all like, tell us about it.
Tell us all about it.
I didn't bring it, guys. Sorry. I was, I tell you though, Monica it shocked me when she said that, and of course Nelly jumped all over me about, well, you just want to prove her wrong, and I'm like, why is this? I just want to know if I'm wrong, because I've been saying this, but I can honestly say I'm going to tell you the truth, and I'm not lying about this. I didn't find anything that gave my point or yours any validation. It didn't say, honestly, it didn't say that a tulpa had to be something created by one person, and it didn't say that it was created by more than one person. It just said something that was created, and I looked everywhere.
Okay, I'll go find my sources, and I will just...
Well, your source is some woman.
Bomb you with it. No. I did research too. I don't just listen to one person and then start spouting crap off.
How old is this person? Is she senility could be part of it? Or?
No, she's in her mid-30s.
That's senility, though. People in the 30s start.
She's younger than you, sir.
They get it early nowadays. The younger generation is very weak. Joe, we've talked about this. Back me up. Abe, you know this. The younger generation, they're very weak. They get senile and feeble when they're 30.
See, you're trying to get them and get like,
I know my demographic age group, and it's 35 to 65. So I'm going to tell you right now, they have no problem with what I just said. There's only about 10 people out there below the age of 30 that watch my show, and it's very quick. They're just like, he's talking about stuff. And then they throw the phone away. They can't handle it. It's over. I've seen them. I mean, I've seen them walking down Congress, and they're just like, and that's just them looking at like a snippet of a commercial. They can't handle it. They fall over. They melt. You know? I mean, 90% of them are really just NPCs. Really, they are. They're non-playable characters. They're the people in the shop, the shopkeepers on Skyrim. They're just like they don't do anything. They don't do nothing. And so I don't care about people below 30. They don't watch my show. Why do I care? Oh wait, Keel's actually making shorts to make them do that. I better be quiet. I'm sorry, people below 30. I'm sorry.
Like, what are they? How do they look like? The difference between them?
Yeah, tell us the difference, Monica.
Well, I just explained it. They don't look any different.
Oh,
They're manifestations. They can be
really?
anything.
Now we're just making stuff
anything.
up.
Different.
Oh, come on. Now you're just trying to be an ass.
I'm not being an ass. I'm just telling what I know. Just what it seems like. It says
What you
you
know.
take Iron Bear with a bunch of snakes and leave more than when you arrived with it. Okay, we got to cut that out there, folks. Come on. I would go there if it was called the Dancing Bear. That actually sounds more delightful than the Iron Bear. The Iron Bear just sounds painful. It sounds mean.
Sounds like a Russian, something Russian.
Like, hey, come here, comrade. I'm going to touch you. I am the Iron Bear. I am
The Iron Bear.
Boris the Iron Bear. I want to touch your body, Iron Bear. Doesn't sound fun at all. Like Dancing Bear sounds kind of like, like a bear on a ball. He's rolling around. Wow. I don't know. That's just my opinion, folks.
I actually had an NPC kind of a thing just the other day. I was and I've talked about this on here before, but it actually happened again. But I was driving. Okay, so like whenever I'm coming home, I'm driving up my Farm to Market Road or whatever, and it's up on the top of the hill. My turn is, and that's the same hill I was going down when I saw the shapeshifter or whatever. But so whenever I go up it to take a left to go to my crib on the way home from work, you can see like in your rear view, you can see about a half a mile behind you because it's downhill and it goes straight forever, and it's the country, so there's nothing there. And when I look in my rearview mirror because I want to make sure like some redneck ain't on my ass with a giant freaking truck.
Yeah.
And so like I look in my rearview, click my thing, hang my left, and as soon as I hung the left, a car goes zoom right past me, like as if it would have been right behind me the whole time. But there was nothing there. I swear, dude. That's what I consider like the NPCs. Like it's like a glitch in the whole freaking program.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. It's weird, man. It's weird. And I went, dude, yeah, like where did that car come from? Because it wasn't behind me for at least a half a mile. And then it just goes whizzing right behind, as soon as I take a left. I don't know. Freaking weird.
I think that there are a lot of people who are just here to cause problems, and that's all they do. That's what they're there for. I mean, they do nothing in our society, really.
They're the evil NPCs.
Yeah, they're evil. I think my being just slothful and lazy in of itself is a sin. I do. I really do. I mean, not just lying and bearing false witness. That's going on a lot, but there's a lot of people that are NPCs that do it just by being slothful and lazy. I mean, they just don't want to put in the work on anything. I'm not talking about just this show or community. I'm talking about just in general. You hire someone and 2 hours later, no work is done. And you're like, you said you knew how to handle these kind of things. Yeah, I said that, but I still feel like it. You're like, wow. And they'll flat out tell you. I had a guy the other night. He just left site to go pick up his friend. And he said, I was gone for only an hour. I'm like, what? Like that right there was just that was a lot. I was like, kind of in that age group, he's usually a pretty good guy, but I mean, why would you think it's okay to just leave your job for an hour? It wasn't your lunch break. Why would you just be, and then I'm supposed to matter of fact, nonchalantly just tell me that like, wow, you just left the site unattended for an hour.
Right. Yeah. No, if it's expected of you to do something, then fine. You need to do it. But like, whenever I go to the shop sometimes and like, they're like, no, there's nothing for you to do today. All you got to do is just sit here and, and I'm like, sweet. I don't have to do anything. Score. But like, yeah, if you're like, you need to do this, and this, then yeah, I'll, I know what you're saying, but yeah, I don't mind being lazy when it calls for it.
I'm shocked at some of the things I see. There are people that live in my neighborhood whose vehicles have never moved. Now, I'm not outside every minute of every hour of every day, but like there was a package. Let's put it this way. Okay, there was a package. Get this. This is weird. About 6 months ago, a package was delivered to our doorstep. Okay. I took that package and I said, oh, it's our neighbor right down the street. Now, I didn't take it right away. I had a lot of things to do, but I eventually got it to them and I put it in front of their door because I rang the doorbell. Nobody answered. 2 cars in the driveway. They live on the corner there. And then I noticed 3 weeks later, I'm talking literally 3 weeks later, I showed my wife, I said, that package is still sitting on their doorstep. Then I thought maybe they're out of town, or maybe we should call the police and have a wellness check. Well, I'm one of those people that's like pretty good neighbor. I don't bother you. You don't bother me. Don't talk to me. I won't talk to you. How about that? And just, I don't want my neighbors knowing anything else about me. They don't need to know I have a show about spooky. They don't need to know anything about me. My neighbor asked me what I did, and I was just like, I said, I'm a security guard. Then one day, he was nosy enough to ask me, he goes, what company you work for? Because he never sees me wearing the uniform because I just keep it in the car if I need to put it on. I don't usually have to stand guard myself. And I said, I work for a company, and I just drove off. And I thought, probably seems so weird. And the guy was out there with his weed whacker going, oh, weird guy. I'm just like, Hunter Thompson. I want nothing. I want nothing. Nothing. I want nothing. Don't talk to me. Nothing. What is that in the tree? Oh, look at them up there. Just take off, because I don't want to talk to these people. I don't want to get to know these people. We don't need to be friends. I'm not going to come over to your house and ask for a cup of sugar or milk. Don't come to my house and ask for anything, because the people in the neighborhood are weird as hell. And I can't understand a group of people that are okay with the HOA just bullying the shit out of everybody. And then they tell on each other constantly. They're out there like taking pictures of each other. I'm like, what is this? This is too much. This isn't the Eastern Bloc. What is this? And so I mind my own business. I stay to myself. We all do. We don't talk to our neighbors. They're all weird. I gave this package to these people. I don't even know what they look like because I've never seen them. There's only one neighbor that I talk to, and he lives across from me. He's the only one who's ever gone out of his way to be nice and talk to me. So I'm nice and talk to him. The other guy next door to me, we had a problem when the freeze happened with the tree. He wanted me to cut a tree branch, whatever. So I did it. But then he tried to be buddy friendly after he was rude about it. And then I was just like, yeah, don't worry about it. Don't talk to me, whatever. So I know them, and they're not my friends. And the guy across the street is an acquaintance. Him and his wife wave, or they say hi. I say hi. That's it. I don't go out of my way. They're from Mexico City. They're very friendly. They have a well-kept yard and a nice house. I know the people across from me. They're Israeli. I got to see. I've spoken to them. They're okay and friendly, whatever. But we're not friends. The people next door to me are annoying on either side. I don't like either one of them. I don't talk to them. And so I give this package to this other. So I asked the guy from Israel. I saw him because he'll talk to me every now and then. I know a little bit of Hebrew, so we talk a little bit. And I said, hey, what's going on? And I said, do you know who lives there? And he goes, I don't. I never see them. So I asked the guy from Mexico City. I said, I just was like, hey, do you know? And he's like, I don't. I never see them. So that package sat there probably another 2 weeks, which would have been over a month. And then I told my wife, I said, something's not correct. Maybe we should call the police. And of course, Anthony's like, oh, we could just mind our own business, not talk. Like, yeah. But then eventually, like right after I said that, I was like, well, if tomorrow it's still there, we will call someone. And then Tony came in, and Tony goes, hey, they got the package or whatever. And I was like, okay, so somebody does live there. So it's just, I don't know. It's a weird thing. I don't know.
They were inside making ramen with no water the whole time. That's what it was.
Yeah. They're inside the, I mean, there's only one, like I said, there's only one or two, I said, that I actually talked to the little erotic monster. You kind of have to talk to him. I mean, Tony ran into one of them's car, and he literally just backed right into it. And I'm like, well, we got to speak to him now. You can't just pretend like they don't exist anymore. But those are the only two we've spoken to. And there've been a few other things that we've had to talk about, whatever, that I'm not going to get into. But other than that, I don't talk to them. I don't really talk to any of them. And there's one neighbor that's always outside taking pictures of everybody. And they warned me about him, and he's nuts. Like, he asked me, he goes, I want to know why you have so many vehicles parked out. I'm like, don't worry about it, dude. He wants me to put them in my garage. I'm like, dude, go back to 1926, wherever you came from. Just get away from me. Whatever. Are the
Was he a
cars
roofer?
on mode?
Was he
Yes.
a roofer?
What's up?
Was he a roofer?
No, thankfully not. I can tell you this though, it is weird because who are those people? Why did their vehicles never move? And I noticed that there were spider webs all over the doorway, like all over the. I was like, what the hell? Like nobody had opened that door in a long time. and I thought that was weird. And so I honestly do believe like there was a story that David Weatherly told, and this is his story, and he had gotten this one, and he retold it on my show. I think a couple times he's told it. He's been in the studio. I know one time. I don't know if he told it that time, but he came on the show one time, and it was a show I had done where I literally had Vic Cundiff and I had Ken Gerhard, Lyle Blackburn, and David Weatherly on back to back to back to back because it was during the freeze. And so I was asking each one of them how they were doing during the freeze, and each one of them was doing something different. And so we talked to each one of them for about 30 minutes, and then we went on. That was a pretty cool show. And so I actually had David Weatherly on, and we talked about this. It might have been that one, or it might have been a different time when I just called him up or something. But there were these people and I can't even remember the name of the state, folks. And the story was called the Snakeheads. And these people, they literally, the neighbors had seen them doing weird things. Like one of the neighbors had knocked on their door, and when they opened the door, there was nothing in the house. It was no furniture. They had stacks and stacks and stacks of like those little plastic, the trays that steaks and any kind of meat comes in, those styrofoam, and then they wrap it in the cellophane, whatever. Saran wrap or whatever that's called that they butchers use, you know what I mean? And so there were tons and tons of those everywhere, but there was no, like, it was weird, And one of them said that they saw the wife running around in the middle of the night chasing a cat on all fours. And somebody saw that, and they said that her head was weird and it had some sort of weird scales on it, and there was no hair. And then one of the neighbors, this is one of the neighbors that was reporting this, saw them at the grocery store, her and the son. And dang, dude, it was weird. I mean, they had a basket full of meat. It was all just meat. That's all it was. Like they were just buying tons and tons of raw meat. There was nothing else in the basket. So weird people. And so, but if you know what we know, and if you are initiated and you've been a part of this show for a long time, it doesn't shock you. Now, I've actually talked to David off camera about this. We've eaten dinner together a few times, and we've talked, and we've gone over some cases together because we've studied the Bear Man or the Bear King legend. We've studied that, ran into some of the same phenomena out in the hill country here. But asking him what he thought about it, he says, dude, obviously some sort of like, maybe alien species or reptilians of some kind that were blending in with humans. Very, very weird. I mean, now, when I talked about that on the show, I got a couple hits from that. I had a couple different people say, hey, one of them came, Joe, from your neck of the woods, which was Bastrop. And somebody had told me years ago, back in 1998, they were living in an apartment complex in Bastrop.
I know the one.
Yeah. Yeah. It was not a good one, let's put it that way. But they said that these people were very weird, and that one day he said, dude, I'll never forget, there was a bad smell coming from their apartment. And they said that it was really like a pungent, overbearing smell. And he said that I noticed the neighbors opening the door. He goes, and they seemed like just a very innocuous. They were Hispanic people. They didn't look like anything. There was a wife, a guy and his wife and a son. And they opened the door. He goes, and I look in there, and there was just trash everywhere, like up to your knees. And it was the same thing. It was like meat wrappers. It looked like, and it just smelled like raw meat coming out of their house. And so he goes, his girlfriend and her sister was their roommate. And he said, at the time I was living with my girlfriend and her sister. And he said that we were coming home, from dinner, and they were coming in with groceries, and it was the same thing. They just had 3 bags, 3 of those HEB bags, whatever. And that's the local grocery store. Everybody in Texas knows what HEB is. If you live out of Texas, you might not. That's our grocery store here. Everybody loves HEB. And it is a really well-run grocery store. My mother was a manager for HEB for years and years. And then these people were walking up the stairs, and they walked in, and his wife or his girlfriend's sister said, "Dude, all they have is meat. Like that was nothing but just raw meat, like different types of raw meat. That was it. Like, what are they going to eat?" So he's thinking, years later, it's like, well, maybe it was the carnivore diet, but I don't remember 1998 that being a thing. But then again, why would you just buy lots and lots of ground beef and steaks and things like that? It was all beef, very odd type behavior. I mean, and then their apartment smelled, and he goes, and then we moved away. There was nothing more to it. I mean, that was it. But who were they? And he said they were always up at night. They never saw them in the daytime. So when you go back, and there was another story I got like that too. But that story was from Latvia or something, or Lithuania, whatever. But it was a similar thing. Like basically somebody's neighbor, they all they ever did was just, they would see them at the market buying meat. They never bought anything else. And then one day they noticed that they were not wearing, like the woman would always wear a shawl over her head. She wasn't wearing it, and she was obviously wearing a wig, and they saw some sort of weird scales going from the back of her head down her neck. That was in another country, like in an Eastern European country. And this person that told us this, she married a guy from Poland, and then she lived there for years, but she told her husband about it. And her husband had said that he had heard stories like that, that there were these people that were like that. But he had never witnessed it or anything, but the older generation talked about them. And they even had a weird name for them in Poland. But what are they? I have no idea. I can tell you this, though. Those were 2 that I got right after we talked about it. But since then, I've gotten stories, and like we talked about one recently where there was somebody that had said, and time out 1 second. I got to just give me 1 second here.
Right here, that old commercial from back in the day. The old lady saying, "Where's the beef?"
the beef?
And then you look again, and she's got like fangs, and she's like, oh, she really wants the beef. But when you stop and you look at what some of these stories, what they're saying is that there are people that are not people.
Right.
At least not people like we are. I don't know anybody, even when I was a kid, I don't remember anybody that just ate meat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Joe.
That reminds me, not on just the meat side of things, but the Jacques Saint Germain, the legendary, the vampire story from New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
When he threw the royal parties and stuff, he always ordered out. And then when they actually, and they never saw him eat or drink anything, but then when they actually raided his house after that woman jumped off the balcony, all they found in his whole kitchen, there was no cooking utensils, no food, no nothing. And they just found one cupboard full of bottles of half wine and half blood, and that's it's actually police documented, stuff. So it's like, that just on the same subject, these people aren't people,
Mm-hmm.
There's something else. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Whenever we talked about this on the show, I guess it was, I can't remember what episode it was now. It was recent, but we had a discussion And this guy, I had a discussion with this guy, and I told his story. He sent me an email. His name was Rex Rude, and he was very rude. He really was. Are you taking off? Can you grab me another one before you go? Before you go, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you for that donation, Mitchell. But Rex, one of the things he was rude. He was very he was an asshole. I'm gonna be real honest with you. He was not a fun or pleasant person to talk to. He had a very interesting story, which I have now gotten 3 emails from different people, and these are people I knew before I ever met him, and they all seem to think that his story was true. So maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, but Anthony can attest. He's right here. He just gave me this drink. That Rex had messaged us, kind of threatening me. Being kind of, yeah, he was a little threatening. He didn't like the way I talked about him after he had told me that he didn't care. I said, well, you said you don't care what people think about you. You're 122 years old. What do you care about me? I'm just a kid. And so that's what he said. I'm just a kid to him. I said, okay. So what do you care what a kid says about you? He wanted his story told. He said, I want to tell you the flip side, which was a rebuttal, if you will. And I left some of that out. I guess that's what angered him too, because it was just a bunch of blasting the people that had come forward as practicing lycanthropy and vampirism, saying that they were this and they were that. But this guy made no bones about being completely evil and even braggadocious about it and being like, well, yeah, I'm this and I'm that and blah, blah, blah. Well, you're proud of your evil pedigree, but yet you're upset with me because I didn't glorify it. I mean, like, he already knew my stance on it. And, he came to me to kind of refute the other side, which isn't going to happen on my show because I don't believe that you should be doing these things. And so he told a very fantastical story about going through 5 spirals, going into the inner earth to find a group of beings known as the Qatar. Now, what they are is part of the Vril. The Vril being the reptilians that control part of the world. Not all of the world, but they do have a hand in a lot of different things. What the Qatar are, what the Qatar are, guitar players. Now, the Qatar are this group of, it's a group of beings that has literally, they are vampiric. Now, what he was so proud of, and that he takes credit for, was getting his people who are human descended, except for the elders. They're this group that they call the elders, and then there's I forgot what they're called, like the illuminated ones or something like that, who are above the elders, and they are actually not human. They are a race of vampiric beings. They are like flying humanoids that are like 9 foot tall. They come from the inner earth, and they've been here, and they have like an exact number too. And don't quote me because I can't remember if it was 157,000 or 137,000 years ago. They can pinpoint when they showed up here, and those beings have never divulged where their origin point was. My thinking on it was they're nomadic. They probably come from deep space, and they probably come to our realm, our world, through some sort of, utilizing stargates. That's what I would think. I don't know this to be the fact. I'm guessing here. And none of these vampires or werewolf type people could tell me anything more about them. All they know is that they had been here for a very, very long time, and that there is a whole bunch of them that live within the earth, and they never come out of their holes. They have their own food source and everything else. And they are fond of humans as cattle. So what ends up happening These beings, they created this group of humans called the elders, and they gave them this ability or whatever. Okay. Now, if you're not caught up with this, this goes way back to werewolf confessions and vampire confessions or whatever. This people from this temple who gave me this information. Now, what is so striking about it is, as we interviewed these people, they were very like they all had a piece of the puzzle, and it was, to me, for them to all be making it up would be hard for them to be very consistent. Now, they weren't all 100% because they didn't all know what each other knew. But these were people who had escaped. And I say escape because that's literally what they did. They got away from this cult, and it was a cult. And now I'm getting links from people, and I'm hooking up with other podcasters and even a couple other authors who are telling me, hey, I have this information too, and we're going to start busting it out. You watch. It's going to happen. There's a couple people that I'm going to do some cross work with, because they have been getting information from people too that are talking about this. Finally, people are talking about it. Well, this guy, Rex, decides he thinks he's, I don't know, I don't want to say it. He just thinks he's somebody. But he was he's like, well, if you want to know from someone who's still, loyal to the cause, and you want to know my side of it, which I didn't ask for it, but he told me. And we did not agree on a lot of things. People call me a blasphemer, and they call me an apostate and a heretic. This dude is the real deal. Like, he makes no bones about it. He is like angry with anybody who believes in God or Christ and, whatever. And so he mocked me a couple times. We got into it a little bit, and I just said, look, this interview is over. I'm not going to sit here and if you're going to, both of us kind of butting heads, but I did want the story. So he was responsible for, back in 1992, going down within the earth and getting this race of beings to actually link up with their above ground counterparts. Now, according to him, because he says that his efforts, they have managed to infiltrate not only local, state and federal government, they've infiltrated all over the world, and they've made inroads into every facet of our lives, which would give credence to the story that David Weatherly talked about from the people who said that these snakeheads, this is what they called them, walk among us. They do drink blood and they eat flesh. But their counterparts, the human counterparts, only drink blood. Kind of like what you were talking about, Joe. They drink blood. They'll mix it with wine. They don't have a lot of other, and it is true, they can drink alcohol. But that's it. They don't go beyond that, and their body doesn't digest it. And
yeah, the thing I heard about the reason why they mix it with the alcohol is because it keeps it from coagulating. It's an anticoagulant.
Mm-hmm.
That's
the whole point. Yeah. And this guy was telling me when he was going down into these inner circles, the first through fifth spirals, he was getting weak. It was really interesting when he went to the behemoth and he was walking up on its back, and he actually drank from the blood of this being, which is the size of like a whole planet, according to him. Now, I did some research on that. I was not aware that was an actual thing. But what he said did make sense, that I knew of a being that had 40,000 eyes, 40,000 ears, 40,000 noses, whatever, all this other, and it is the behemoth. And of course, there's different ways to say it depending on the language. And when he was walking upon this beast, there were parasites that walked upon it that were like giant-sized bacteria that were the size of beings, humans, whatever. So he got sustenance by various means when he was in the forbidden zone or the empty quarter, when he walked through the desert to get to the fourth ring or the third ring, one of those. He ended up like encountering these beings. And I made a joke, because it sounded silly, but he said these beings in the desert came out with little cloaks on with glowing eyes, and I said, "Oh, so you encountered Jawas?"
Jawas.
And so then he got really pissed off. I mean, because it sounds so damn goofy, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, really? Because, look, I'm a Star Wars fan too, Look,
Are there sand people nearby?
see, leadership. It's about lifting people up. See, Vader.
Well, Jabba the Hutt waiting for him too.
So he gets down, he gets into the forbidden zone, and so when I said that, I said, "Come on now, I mean, this is." But I had to stop and I thought about it. The stories of Almadam, Iram, Petra, Baalbek. You get, Bahoma. You get these Behut. Yeah, that's what happens. There are these beings that are, and Abe, we've talked about it on the show. These beings that are found in the desert. And we've talked about the Adharit, which are another type of being found in these desert regions that are like ghouls / werewolves. What I found interesting, though, was that they gave him sustenance, and then when he went to Tartarus, when he made it to Tartarus, these bullheaded, goat-like beings also helped him, gave him, whatever. Now, it would make sense that they would help him because it would only further their aims to see humanity fall, because that would be the goal, right? Now, there is a distinction that was made between every level. Like there was hell, which is not where he was within the desolation. There was Hades, and then there was Tartarus. There were all these different places where he was at. So either this guy is very, very well read and a very accomplished fiction writer, which I don't think that's the case, or he's just a smart mouth vampire. I mean, he really probably is just a dickhead. And yes, I said that. And he's like telling me, I better watch myself. I'm like, oh, or what? You're one of many people that's going to do something to me, right? He's going to come out and power bomb me and hit me with a chair. So
He's going to get the Jawas on you.
He's going to stick the Jawas on me. So I think that maybe this guy, he studied magic for sure, because what he was talking about made a lot of sense. What was really nerve-wracking when he was going down the first spiral, and the abyss was within the middle of this spiral. If you stop and you're tired, you can't rest. There's not enough room for you to sit. You can't stop moving. And it's a 3-day journey. You can't stop. So if you stop at any point and you fall off into the abyss, well, then you're going to be having your skin peeled off for all eternity. So it's not something that you can do. You can't stop. What's crazy,
like
though,
Dante's Inferno.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, absolutely. But in the end, he ended up making it out. I'm not going to rehash everything that was said. You can go back and listen to it. It was last Sunday's episode.
Did he take an elevator back up?
No, he actually he spent like a year incarcerated for trespassing, and he was supposed to do 100 years. And in this prison that he was in, this primordial prison that he was, when he reached his destination, these beings were not interested in his. They didn't really care to be his friend. Like, they were not like, oh, congratulations, thanks for showing up. No, you're going to jail now because you've trespassed. And so there was different types of beings in their jails. He said there was every type of being you could imagine that was in there. Some that you would classify as like quintessential aliens. Some that looked like other types of reptilians, different races of beings. And then because this race of beings were vampiric, they were literally, what they were was the Devril as vampires. And what had happened was they had encountered this same vampiric race that had made the humans vampiric. They had made these reptilians vampiric. And so they were a fifth column. They had broken away from the reptilians that were the Drakes, basically, is what they were. And they began to fight with them. Some say, this is what he said, that some believe amongst this reptilian race, the Qatar, They believed that what was done to them was done by their enemies, which would have been the Anunnaki, aka the giants, the progenitors of the human race, according to them. So what they did was to divide the Vril was to sick the vampires on them and to turn them and to change them and to infiltrate them. Kind of like what Germany did during World War One, that they kept Russia from re-entering the war by exiling 12 members of the Communist Party that created the Communist Party. Unfortunately, that would come back to bite everyone in the butt because they became one of the biggest problems on the planet. The Red Scourge, the Red Plague. In fact, there was a saying during World War II amongst the Eastern Europeans. They would say, "Oh, come Black Death, save us from the Red Plague." The Black Death being the Germans, the Nazis, and the Red Plague being the communists. So it was like, yes, come and kill us to save us from our sorrows. So conscription on either side. It was a horrible war. Read Blood Red Snow. It's one of many, many books I've read about the Eastern Front, a war, or read Infernal Cauldron. That's another one, the war for Stalingrad. Those books are amazingly just, they detail the war that just, and how bad it was. The Siege of Leningrad was another. You had cannibalism, people trying to stay alive. It was crazy. But what you had with this situation was the Vril were actually doing a pretty good job of punching the giants in the proverbial balls. And so the giants divided them by using these nomadic vampiric species that they had imprisoned, and they let them loose in the caverns to take out the Vril. They didn't take them out completely, but it caused enough of a problem that they started literally a civil war. Like a quarter of the Vril became the Qatar, which is their race of reptilian vampires. Now, these reptilian vampires are not friendly with their original vampiric species. The humans are connected to them through their elders. The elders they are still like, they adhere to them. The reptilians are not. They do not like them. They detest what they've done to them. And they live under what they believe to be a curse. But it is weird because there are reptilians that claim that they can be cured, but they choose not to because of the power that it gives them. The problem with any power is that you have to have the source to be continual. And without that continued source, you die. So they need blood. They need copious amounts of blood, which they have struck a deal with our governments, the shadow governments, to provide them with enough sustenance. And we're not talking about cows. We're talking about people. So, according to him, there is an entire breeding program going on below our feet where people never see the light of day are used as food sources by the Qatar. They are the main killers of, but there are other species down there too who eat people, and those are just the Vril, period. They are just cannibals, but they're not really cannibals because they're not really people, are they? They're humanoid, and they eat flesh, mammal flesh in particular. They don't care what it is, human, cow, pig, whatever. But human blood is the main source of the nutrients for the Qatar. And this douchebag was more than happy to be like, yeah, I'm a part of that. I'm glad I did that. Like, so he's bragging about it. I don't know if that's true or not. I can't say. But he's very happy that he did this. And he says that someday soon there will be a reckoning. And these people, they're allied with some of the worst elements in our society. They are not Luciferians in of themselves. They don't really worship Lucifer. They worship another god. And they do believe, though, that the Luciferians are their allies because they're at war with God, who they acknowledge as the infinite creator. And they don't believe in the Old Testament God as the bad guy. They don't believe that. They know there is this true God or whatever above the, that is who their enemy is, and he is the Father of Christ. They acknowledge that. We agreed on that, him and I. That was it. That was about all we agreed on. Everything else he told me was pretty, I don't know how you say it. What is the word? I was repulsed, I guess, by a lot of what he espoused. We had a guy on our show on Saturdays. He's come in the last few Saturdays, and he's somebody that's been studying from the Kabbalah. I picked it up right away. He goes by the nickname of Saber, and then he has another nickname. I can't remember. Area Trance. He's like he listens to the show, watches the show. He studies from the Kabbalah, and when he started talking about it last Saturday, I picked it up real quick that's what he was doing. And I am not going to disparage that guy, that young man. He needs prayer. And he knows that he believes a certain way, then I don't follow that. But he believes in this kundalini, this balance, whatever. I always say this, that the bad always tries to eat the good. No matter what happens, it always turns on it and tries to destroy good. It's what happens every time. And it masquerades as good and continues to do it until it can get what it wants. I will say this. I still believe that there is hope for anybody who still has in them a love for Christ, which that young man professes that he does. He does. These people, on the other hand, have nothing but hatred for him. They hate him in every sense of the word, every term. They hate him because he stands in the way of them doing what they want to do. They can't harm people in the way that they want to harm people. They can't do what they want. That's a problem for them. Jordan says, is Putin into Kabbalah? I have no idea. But I know that this individual, when we were talking about this, he was doing something more than just reading from the Kabbalah, this guy, Rex. And there have been a few people who validated what he said, that it was very close to the truth about all of the different things that he was talking about. So I guess, my next question for you guys, the audience, if anybody has any questions, put it in capital letters. And if you want to hear Monica lie about tulpas, we can always do that too. But I don't know why you'd want
more entertaining.
More entertaining. So what are your thoughts on this? The vampires, any of it? I mean, what do you guys think? Nobody?
Are you talking about us or the chat?
Whoever.
Oh, I'm all about it.
Congratulations.
I was actually talking to my youngest son on the way to work today, actually, about the difference between the fact that they're energy vampires, that they're actual blood vampires. And I consider the reptilian, like you were saying earlier, I consider those vampiric as well. Anything that's feeding off of flesh or blood of mankind because it's a life source. So I believe and that's where you get the immortal side of you to it, to where they live longer or immortal completely because they're living off the life force of human beings and the reason why human beings are different than animals is because we have souls that were created by the creator, and that's what they're really doing. They're getting a taste of the creation. You know, they're not necessarily getting a taste of animals that were put here for, you know, our purposes or for, you know, stuff like that. They're actually getting what is created for the Savior to save, you know, through Christ. So they're kind of, in a way, they're kind of living off of what they wish they really had to begin with, because, you know, if it is all actual Nephilim based or, you know, any of that, it's something that they lost it's the essence that they had that they lost a long time ago, and they want a taste of it, and that taste keeps them, you know, rich in their own, in the, you know, like an addict almost, you know what I mean? Like they got to have it. And for the humans that turn or got turned, that were actually human beings at one point in time and aren't strictly demonic or reptilian or you know, what would you call it, Nephilim based, right? So they the way I see it is that's their only way to actually get into it. So kind of like Renfield, right? You know, you're not the demon vampire, the Dracula. You're the little Klingon that actually has to feed off of a life force in order to necessitate itself, because it already made its pact with the other side. That's, if I had to take a stab at it, that's where I'd go with.
What about you, Monica, or Abe? Either one of you.
Oh yeah. I you know, I've heard the stories of reptilians, you know, obviously eating people, but I had never before tonight really associated them with any kind of like vampiric activity I would consider. So, but it makes sense, especially, you know, the way Breezy is putting it, you know, that they're consuming the flesh and the blood of humans, and it's vampiric in that sense because it's, you know, it's the life force. But I believe, you know, I do believe in reptilians. And it's hard for me to admit that because I'm a very like logic-minded person, and that seems so far out in left field, like just on the surface. But I do. So I think that it's an interesting thing. And should I believe it? You know, in energy vampires, I absolutely have believed in for a very long time. Those things are out there. Mm-hmm. And I'm aware that, you know, sanguine vampires are out there. I don't think there are quite as many as the energy vampires. I think there's more energy vampires than there are sanguine. But when you throw the reptilians in there, that's a new avenue for me.
I think. What do you think, Abe? What are your thoughts?
Well, I've seen all kinds of things while I was in the military and after the military. So I've seen when I was in Germany, I seen something that was following me around. It was like a human, but he had like this old kind of clothing, like a black, and had a top hat and a cane, and it was following me around after I was coming from the club, you know, from or drinking. I wasn't drunk or nothing. I only drank a couple of beers. So I got ready to confront it because everywhere I went, every move I took, it kept on following me. So I waited for it around the corner, and when it came around the corner, I was ready to fight because I felt it was following me. And he just looked at me, and it went like that with a top hat, and went the opposite way. So to me, that right there, you know, when you talk about vampires, then the female, they kind of had with the female that looked ghost-like. There was like a lingerie, barefooted in the cold, trying to trying to call me to go to a room. I feel they're from the same source. So yeah, I believe they do exist in that form. And also succubus, incubus are like a form of a vampire because they drain your life source, your energy. A lot of they attack at night, night terrors, uh, sleep paralysis, and also through nightmares. And yeah, I've seen the ones that you're talking about. There's some, man. There's something weird like that reptilian I ran into, that it was a form of a man. It was during the day, you know. He was in the form of man, and I started praying within myself because something didn't feel right about him, the way he was moving. And then it's like his skin started ripping. I could see this green scales and stuff, and the teeth look weird. And I just continued to pray within myself, and he just looked up like that and gave me a smile. You could see all the sharp teeth. So, would that be considered that kind of vampire? I mean, apparently it was tracking me because I was walking on the main highway and just tried to bum rush me from the back. Like I could see the pebbles fly, and I looked and he was coming at me full speed. So I do believe that there is a lot of things that exist. It's just man, it's hard to because you're damn you do, and you're damn you don't. But what I mean by that is through the belief factor. For me as maintaining a love foundation, dealing with this demonic activity, if I give them some kind of power, it's kind of like you're believing in it, then it's got a free entry to come into your house. Whether it's a vampire or a demon or whatever. So it's kind of like I just try my best to. I know things like that exist. I just don't want to believe in these things because I know that that's how they can enter your home to drain your energy and stuff like that through the power. I know my grandmother, the one that I told you about, Brother Josh, Dark Witch. She used to keep garlic and all kinds of stuff inside the home. Crosses all over the windows and the doorways. The one that I totally manifested in Germany when I was 19 told me, my grandmother and my grandfather. The only thing I could think of is when there were POWs that were coming from over there from the war. We had a little location there in the town. It was called Labor Camp, and they had a lot of POWs there. So it makes you wonder, how does he know I'm in a foreign country? That war had already happened a long time ago, and they knew who I was, and knew where my grandmother's name, my grandfather's name. So I believe they are, like you say, they just able to manifest into many things, I guess.
Yeah, I think that when you're dealing with these kind of beings, I know it's hard enough to believe or to understand that um, there are vampires. It's a very hard thing to take in and be like, hey, this is a real thing. And then it's also a hard thing to take in and understand and believe that there are wolf like, upright canid creatures that can be shapeshifters. It's another hard thing to take in that there are reptilians. But if you could see what was below your feet, I think things would be a lot different. I think buying a house would be a hell of a lot different. You'd be like, is that a chasm to hell there? Well, we consider it decoration. It's not, you're not going to fall in it. I mean, you can see it right there.
We
but,
call that cozy.
yeah. The fireplace.
Atmosphere. Yeah.
Adds atmosphere to it. And then Monica's job is to find a throw rug to put over it, right? That's what you
Right.
do. You tell them,
That's what I do as a PM.
here. This whole
Just throw a rug over it.
voila.
Try your best and call
There you
the
go.
rest.
And then you
No,
got to
but-
tell your people to build around it,
No, but that's funny. That's funny that you mentioned that about how it's hard for us to. I was actually reading a book today. It's called The Zombie Road, and it's about it. It takes place about different people during the zombie outbreak, and when it talks about the adults seeing it, they're like, "No way, these people are like bath salts and blah blah blah." But it talks about the kids, and when the kids, it goes from their point of view, and they instantly, like as soon as they see it, they're like zombies instantly. You know what I mean? Because we've gotten programmed to believe that a lot of this paranormal stuff is just, through predictive programming, that it's all just BS and it's all fantasy and it's all fake, and they want to steer us away. But as a mind of a child, you instantly, when you see it, you know it. You see a ghost, it's a ghost. As you get older, and get more conditioned, then whenever you see it, you go, oh, there's got to be some rational explanation. Maybe it was shadow on the wall, or, yada, yada, yada. But, if you think of it with the innocent mind and trusting your eyes for what they are, and trusting your feelings for what they are, then, and not using logic that you were taught to destroy that, you know, then you know exactly what you're looking at. You know, werewolf, zombie,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
vampire. You're not like, well, maybe he just, you know, put on too much lipstick and it was running down his chin by those two sharp fangs.
His teeth are a little odd.
Yeah.
He's got some
My
big
my
teeth.
grand my great grandmother, she was like a medicine woman healer also. And I remember one time, my mom took me over there because she said there was something wrong with me. You know, something was acting strange. So she pulled out that sage and smoked out the living room. You know, and she's trying to figure out what's happening to me. And then you could see them. You know, this werewolf-like creatures standing right beside me in the smoke, and you could see them open their jaws and close the jaws. And she looked at them, and she told them to leave me alone, and she commanded them to leave the house. So, you know, they exist. You know, it just what are their capabilities is the thing. You know, if the vampires have that many capabilities, imagine how many capabilities this I guess werewolf or lycanthrope have. But they have the ability to cloak. Like they're right beside you. You don't even know they're right beside you. You
I
know.
think that when it comes to this whole phenomenon, I don't think that we can rule out anything because we don't know anything 100%. But I'm starting to lean more and more toward these things being real. Now, there are a lot of people in the community that are talking a bunch of crap. Oh, this guy's crazy. He's talking about vampires and werewolves like they're real. Well, what would you call them? They're not necessarily going around saying that themselves, and there's a lot of people that are saying, hey, they're seeing things. They're not necessarily saying, hey, there's a man on the wing of this plane. You know, what is it? You know what I mean? There's something there. In the early going, people were telling us about flying humanoids. One of the things that me and my old co-host we started to realize was that, and this was him actually. He said, you know, a lot of these flying humanoids sound like vampires or gargoyles. And I said, yeah, we need to come to some sort of like a name for these things because people are seeing them quite a bit. And that was Armando. Armando is one that introduced me to Sal. I mean, Sal was in Armando was one that introduced me to Abe. And so I started to, you know, he was a big Anunnaki guy. And I was not. I knew all about it. I had read all about it, but I had kind of rejected it. I didn't really believe. I didn't know what I believed. I approached everything with an open mind, though, because I had seen a dog man, and I didn't know what the hell it was. Now, knowing what I know now, when this man first approached me, Gerald, which has been several months now, and he said, hey, I'm going to tell you something. I used to be a werewolf. When he first tells me this, I just, even knowing everything I know and everybody I've talked to and all the stories that I've gotten over the years, and I've interviewed people, some of them that I could attest to were some sort of skinwalker or some sort of like shapeshifter being. I could tell you I 100% believe that they were real. But when somebody comes out and tells you that, and this guy, when I talked to him, he was not, or I should say, he is not. He just talks like a hillbilly. Like but he's very intelligent. And he said, he was very honest. He goes, I don't know everything. He's like, I can't tell you everything. He goes, I only know what I know. And he told me, he says, I can introduce you to another guy named Joel. And he told me the whole backstory and how they ended up in all this mess. They were basically two big criminals, and they ended up getting caught up in something. He said it was his fault. He accepted it. But Joel was the one who really brought me full circle into this when he started to tell me about being a vampire and what it was and how they had been delivered from this. From him, I met Carlos, and from Carlos, I met Eve, but I met Stacy through Gerald and Joel, and they all knew each other. and they live in different parts of the country now. But at one time, they all went to this place called the Temple, and it has a name, and I've said it on the show many times. But this temple they went to, they were involved in a lot of really really dark things, and they've told me a lot of really dark things that I won't repeat on this show. One of the things about Stacy that really struck me was that she really wants to go to heaven. She really believes in God. The others are into Christ for sure. They definitely have changed, but she wants to make a difference. She wants to, and she really seems to kind of want to get back the evil, what it took from her. And I explained to her the other day, I just said, look, you can't, you're not going to take back what you lost, but you can go forward now and try to be a better person. You can try to do better and be more righteous. That's all you can do. She has children, and she feels like she's really remorseful, and she wanted to do anything she could. Now, this individual, after my conversations with Stacy, and I did talk to her recently, and I told her, I said, look, I think this individual knows you very well, this Rex. And she says, yeah, I know him. And apparently, I find this out, that she was an understudy of his. And I said, how true are his words? She says, as far as any of them go, she's like, I wouldn't trust him as far as you could throw him. She's like, he may be telling the truth. He may not be. She's like, but what he's saying checks out. Like, yes, they do these journeys where they go deep into this ether, and they go into these other realities. Some of it is going inward, and then some of it is going through portals. Portals, to me, and just so you know, is something that someone creates. A vortex is a natural, and a nexus is a point of like a superhighway point, bunch of arteries meeting together. What I call a stargate is something that people use to transcend space and time. They bend time and space so that they can travel through it. That is how these beings originally come to this realm. Now, there are 11 dimensions, maybe 12, depending upon who you talk to. And there are alternate realities, each reality having 11, maybe 12 dimensions. And when you start to go down the rabbit hole, that is an infinite number of possibilities of where you could end up or where you are. And it's no wonder that the Mandela effect is something that's ever changing. We would be remiss to believe that we are the only spot in the entire universe. Now, supposedly there are 12 universes, depending upon which book you read. Now, there are all different types of books that these beings study from. The Kabbalah is one. The Prodigies of Egypt is another. The Simon Necronomicon is another horrible, nasty book that they read from. They read from all these different books. They learn from all these different books. The other book that I strongly recommend people stay the hell away from it. Okay. The Shams Ma'arif. Please do not go and look at that book, and do not download it onto your computer, because the chances of you being molested by a demon, and I don't mean that in a goofy sense, I mean something coming at you and messing with you, the probability is high. It is a book that is guarded by elves, and you think I'm joking. People see these elf-like beings. Some of them have horns because they're evil. Okay? These beings live within the earth too. That's where they're actually from. They're a sub-natured type of being. And so you have these werewolf, vampire people, whatever, because they're people. And they also, most of them were pretty upfront about it. Now, this other guy, he's still in it, so he's very arrogant and thinks he's more than he is. He got very angry when I told him that he's still just a man. I said, you are still just a man. You're just a vessel for a demon that has attached itself to your spine. And I said, isn't that a sucker's deal? He goes, you'll be long dead. I'll still be alive. I said, I'll be alive. I'm just not going to be in a flesh suit like you, having to get people's blood. I don't think he liked that. They they recognize Jesus as the Son of God, and like most demons, they do not recognize him as the Son of Man. That tends to be the problem, because that gives Jesus hegemony over us. And so I tried something with him to see if what he would do. And I said, what if I said, I rebuke and I bind you in the name of Christ? He hung up. We didn't talk for 6 hours. He texted back and said, are we going to play games? And he tried to play it off. He goes, I know you hung up on me. And I said, no, I didn't. You hung up on me. He says, well, we must have gotten disconnected. I said, maybe we did. And then when we got back on the phone, he's like, are you going to play games again and say that and hang up? And I said, no, because I didn't hang up. Now, on weaker-minded people, maybe this little funny game is going to work on, I don't know, whatever. But it didn't work on me because I know what he was doing. And, you know, because someone who is that obsessed on by a demon is not going to like you talking about Christ or the Holy Spirit. So in order to finish the interview, I had to agree to not talk about Jesus or the Holy Spirit. Besides, the words would be wasted on an individual like him. He, by his own admission, has committed his soul to hell. But the good thing for him is that he's going to rule. He's going to have his whole little like communion there, and he's going to be some kind of like boss, you know. That's what he believes. And I'm like, wow, what a party. So that makes it all okay, because you know what? He's going to be in hell and he's going to be a boss. So I was just like, yeah, I've actually heard that before. I told him, I said, my brother was a Satanist at one time, and he said the same thing. He goes, oh, I'm much different than that. He said, being a Satanist and comparing them to us, that's like comparing a neo-Nazi to a real Nazi. And I said, okay, yeah, I know there's definitely a difference. I said, whatever. He said that it's like night and day. And I said, yeah, I get it. I get what you're saying, but it's not like night and day. It's like one night compared to another night. It's black on black. And I do believe that this man is completely just evil. Here's another thing. And he said, I brought this up during the conversation, and I'm going to tell you guys, I'm going to tell you this right now. While we were talking, his voice would change at times. I'm not joking. Like we would be talking, like I'm just talking to you like this, and he'd be like, yeah. And then when I saw, you're like, what in the hell? Like, what is that? And it'd give me the chills, and I'd be like, what in the freaking hell? And then his voice would sound very guttural and growly, and then it would go back to normal. And it was this kind of up and down thing. And I finally said, look, wait a minute. It's very unnerving to talk to an individual. Now, this is the first time I've had a guy that gave me a Bigfoot story that was kind of doing that. But there again, I thought he was kind of off, you know. And I said something to this guy, and I said, why is your voice change like that? And he's like, I don't do it on purpose. The other, you know, it's a symbiotic relationship. He goes, and sometimes the other answers the question. And I said something smart ass, because that's what I do. But I said, well, can you tell the other to shut up? Because I only want to hear one of you. And then it was like the guttural voice came out and talked for like 5 straight minutes. And I'm like, wow. And at that point, I said, am I talking to his nickname Rex? That's not even what he goes by. That's what he was going by. I said, am I talking to the Rex, or am I talking to, you know, Venom? And he was like, this thing stopped, and then it said some weird crap that for all I know, it's some kind of mumbo jumbo just to make me think whatever. And I was like, what is that? He says that is actually liturgical Latin backwards. And I said, oh, okay. So now you're talking Latin backwards to me. And he says that I just cursed you. I said, okay, good, great. Yeah, whatever. Stand in line. I've had an Amish curse, a Vietnamese curse. I've had a Mexican curse. I've had just about every type of curse you could think of thrown on me. And I'm like, whoopee doo. And so far, all my joints and body and everything is working. We'll see what happens. I haven't had explosive diarrhea or anything like that.
Yet.
I haven't eaten Taco Bell either, though.
I was gonna say,
Colada, I have not tried that yet. I'm going to, though, on Monica's recommendation.
I
Yeah.
was gonna say, you
It
haven't
only
had
takes one
Doritos
worker to make
breathe.
it happen.
I'm telling you, you just give them a little extra with their food.
So this guy,
I gotta go to New Orleans with her. It's gonna be.
It's going to be
can't
crazy
piss her off for
in
like
January. Yeah.
48 hours.
you guys are going to New Orleans in January?
It's my birthday and Jen's birthday. So we're going to New Orleans and for a weekend with anybody who wants to go. We've been announcing it.
So I can't piss her off for 48 hours, or I'm gonna be like, no, I can't go. I got explosive diarrhea. I don't know why. It was the
You guys have a
jambalaya.
blast for me.
Huh?
I said, you guys have a blast for me.
On your behalf.
I don't go where the Voodoo King hangs out, so you might run into him down there in the French Quarter.
And then
I can tell you this: he doesn't have a problem with you. He has a problem with me.
what's he going to do?
He probably ain't gonna do nothing to you. He's probably just
Yeah.
smoke a cigar with you and tell you how.
You
much
know, I mean, let's be real. Like magic and voodoo. I mean, it's real. It's real, but part of it is also like spicy psychology, right? You've got to lean into it a little bit for it to take off.
he also believes that he can do it and still be a Christian. I don't know.
Yeah, I never got that. I never understood that part of that.
Hey, look, he's been being
That's
quiet
all right.
lately, so I'm not going to say anything.
Right. Don't poke the nest. Don't poke
Let's-
the nest.
Let's sleep.
No, I mean, just period on the voodoo thing. How it's so occultish and so borderline satanic, but it's Christian. You know, I've never gotten to figure that one out.
Voodoo?
Never.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the voodoo, like down and around that area, right? It's you know, it's a mixture of Catholicism and you know,
Like a way of life.
practice. Yeah.
Yeah. I just never understood the connection. I'm like,
Well, because I guess because it has that little bit of Catholicism in it, you feel like
Right.
maybe it's not so bad because it's got a little bit of bad.
I mean, they got some saints, man. Come on now.
you gotta say,
Still go to church. I'm gonna burst into flames when I walk in. So.
yeah. To me, it's like always been like the weird thing about like with Satanism, and they're like, oh yeah, we believe in God, but we're gonna win. And it's like, dude, you know the story, right? you know how it plays out. Like it
We
doesn't
talked
end
about
up
that
well
last
for
night
you.
on Abe's show last night.
It doesn't end up well for you.
But yeah, we'll have a drink on Bourbon Street in honor of you. We'll go to the dungeon, which is the vampire bar.
Don't ever drink anything in honor of me because I don't drink.
Mm.
Right? I don't do that. So if you want to do something in honor of me, purify yourself. Go into the church and light candles and go, oh.
Oh,
Monica burst into
man. We'll do that.
All right,
Monica bursts into flames. Joe's like, whoa, shoot, what in the heck just happened?
Like I told you. I can't go.
like, dude, I'm just smoking.
She
You know,
becomes like a
totally
torso,
burst.
like that talks like on What We Do in the Shadows, or Baron or whatever. It's like, and then that old that thing looks like my wife's dog, Baby. I love Baby to death, but she looks like a little gargoyle. And that little it's like the original vampire. Like, what is that? It's like Baby, my wife's dog. But it's not really my wife's dog anymore. She's taken to my brother. And she kind of looks like my brother now, too. She'll be sitting at the foot of the stairs. She'll look up at me like, and I'm like, she looks like my brother. I'll be looking at her going like, dang, they really do take on the looks and personality of whoever they.
It looks like your brother.
Looks like my brother. He looks like.
And it looks like a gargoyle.
Yeah, my brother looks like a gargoyle. Yeah, exactly. He's probably at the head going like, oh, I don't. Yeah, you do. My show, I can say it. But no, I don't want to make him mad. He's helping me write my book about the house that we lived in, and so we're going over stuff. I don't want him putting something in there, and I got to be like looking, watching. No.
And
He's
then
also
this
been
one
up here at the
time,
studio a lot with Kim. I got to watch them. So they can't steal nothing. Coming to make sure my rings are still here. Let me check and count real quick. I think they're all
Probably at the pawn shop.
at the pawn shop off of Runberg. My brother's probably getting mad right now. So no, but what I was going to say though, and like a couple of the stories that are going to be in that book about the vampires, were from people from New Orleans, and it was a couple of cases that I covered with Tony, Anthony, and Armando. A guy we ate dinner with told us a very bizarre story of going into a nightclub and then the next day it didn't exist. I'm not going to get into a big old thing, but it's really bizarre. There was a group of girls who had seen a very good-looking man who was in the street, and the next thing you know, he was on their balcony, and they don't remember him how he got there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and when they started describing him, and I'm going like, "You met Chris Garetano?" Like,
Bionic man up there
like,
He was wearing a helmet.
he's all like,
in the god helmet.
"You wore the God helmet." Let me tell you, it's quite an experience.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, he tried to give it to me. He's like, "Do you want it?" I'm like, "No, I'm good. I don't want that." He goes, "I think you should try it. You'll have all kinds of weird dreams like me." I'm like, "No, I'm okay. I'm okay. Nothing. I want nothing."
Take it to Louisiana with you.
Yeah, just walk around wearing it on Bourbon Street. Put a
put a
couple
beer
of straws.
You would blend right in. Nobody would notice.
Nobody would notice. Put the cups in the straws and just be drinking when you're like,
Right.
I'm having a weird out of body experience.
They'd be like,
You
cool.
know where I'm at.
Yeah, there's
It's not
vampires
breezy
all
in.
over the
You'd be
place.
thinking, like,
Yeah, I bet there is.
There are for real.
Yeah.
Like for real.
Yeah. And
Like
then
energy vampires all over the place, man. All over the place.
I believe on 6th Street too, there's a lot of weird people down on 6th Street in Austin, because when you have 400 and something bars and clubs in that close proximity, well, hell yeah, you're going to have some weird stuff coming in and out of there. I mean, there were so many stories down there of weird stuff. Where to get the stories now is to talk to the managers who come in the afternoons to get the liquor orders. I was one of them. And I would hear pool balls clacking. I would hear people drinking and talking and having a good time. And I'm like, what in the hell? And I'd go upstairs and there's nothing. And my dogs would be growling. You know, I had a big German Shepherd and a big old Mastiff, and they would tear your ass up. One time when I was at work, somebody broke into my house back in the late 90s, and they tore his freaking arm off. Stupid ass came through my brother's room. My brother had left his door open, and they latched onto that dude. So he staggered across down the road down to a store, and he fell over. He was a Mexican national. And the police were very matter of fact about it. They're like, yeah, his arm is hanging on by a thread. And we come home, and there's just like blood all over the wall and everything. It's a true story. Like, it was messed up, man. And my brother was like, damn it. He was all mad because he left his door open, the dogs. I said, well, he would have gotten in and he would have opened the door, you know, because the dogs, they didn't bark. That's what was crazy. I said, dude, our dogs were sneaky. Like, they would go to the door. And like my friends that would come and knock, they could hear them sliding around behind the door. And it was so creepy to them because the ones that would come and take care of the house, stuff like that, when I was out of town, the dogs knew them. Mm-hmm. So Loki was one of those guys, him and Chief. And they came to feed and water them, and they could hear them like sliding around against the door. And they were like, dude, it's so creepy because you have these two big old, like 150-pound dogs that aren't making any noise. And when you open the door, they're right there.
They're tactical.
Yeah. Ivan was very sneaky. Ivan would just go. He taught Caesar that because Ivan was the older one. And I used him to train the other one. And so he would go up and he would just like sniff the door. And then he would stand there like this, looking down at the bottom of the base of the door with his ears. You know, he'd just be like, I'm like, Ivan, what are you doing? And he'd look back at me and just keep looking at the door and then somebody would knock. And then he would back up and he would kind of do this sort of whatever. And then he would slide against the door. I don't know what he was doing. He did that. He would slide around on it. and I would move him like, get out of the way, and then they would come
He's
in.
a snake. He's a snake.
If he knew the person, he'd be like, he was okay with women. Like if a woman broke into our house, he'd probably just be like, hey, what are we doing? Hey, what's going on? Why you take
I like your
you
hair.
want to know where the jewelry's at? Let me show you. Ex-girlfriend would have just robbed me blind. He'd be like, oh, good, Ivan. Yay. But a guy that he didn't know, that dude would not have a throat. It would have been over because he was so aggressive toward males and that he didn't know. But so loving toward people he did. And then he had certain people that I could trust to handle him, But he was very male aggressive towards other male dogs that were alpha male type dogs. He did not like pit bulls. He didn't like any of these the German Shepherd next door. He kicked his ass a couple times. The guy was an Egyptian cab driver. He was a very nice guy. And he was just like, yeah, him and Sam, his dog's name was Sam. They like to fight. But a couple times I had to pull him off of him because I thought he was going to kill that Shepherd. And then he beat up a Doberman a couple times down the road. He just took off and went after him. And the neighbors had 2 pit bulls. He jumped in their backyard with them because they kept getting into our yard. And one day he just grabbed one of them by the face and pulled him into the yard and just twisted him around and tossed him up in the air. And I was like, holy crap. And then he jumped the fence and started whipping the hell out of the other one. And the ladies that had those dogs, I told them, I said, your dogs keep coming into our yard. I mean, they were digging into our yard. Ours weren't doing that. And our dogs were trained, and I told her, I said, your pit bulls are going to be exterminated by our dogs if you keep doing that because these dogs know how to fight. They know how to take care of business. Those dogs are just dogs. And she's like, oh, they're tough. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, okay. No, they're not. Not when you have a dog that's made for that, But he was a very, and I'll give you an example. If you want a dog like him, and you want a Mastiff, don't go for a pureblood, and I'll tell you why. Breed it yourself, and give it a quarter lab, because it will give it a better temperament, and it will give it a more intelligence. So Ivan's mother was half lab, his dad was full-blooded, and they were English Mastiffs with a quarter pureblood lab. So that's what he was. He was 3/4 Mastiff and a quarter lab, and we finally got the right mix. And he had the best temperament, and he was very well behaved. He was the easiest dog I ever had to train. I trained a lot of dogs. He was the easiest one to train. Hip dysplasia, yes, Morgan, that is a problem. But my Ivan lived to be 16.
Oh, wow.
And I quit walking him when he was 8. So he didn't walk. I just let him go out in the backyard when he felt like going. I had a little hole that I cut and made a little deal for him so he could go in and out at will. And I didn't run him around and play with him. Don't do that too much when they get to a certain age. And it's their diet. And then I gave him glucosamine, chondroitin. I gave him MSM and hyaluronic acid when it became available. So I helped him, but he was so smart. If I was crushing something up, he'd be looking at me and he'd be like, I'm not eating that. He'd know. So I had to act like I was eating it. And then he would be like, and so I would distract him, I'd throw something and then I'd put it in and mix it up and then I'd set it down and then he would eat it, The little fucker,
Bill Cosby,
wasn't little,
dog.
he was a big fucker. When he would catch a little piece of the pill or something that wasn't crushed up, he'd be like, like he'd be all mad. Like, what did you do to me? Why did you poison me? I'm like,
You
dude,
drugged me.
Yeah.
Roofie!
I trusted you. I trusted you. And then when you tell him no, he'd lay on the ground and act like you killed him or something, He was a really sweet dog. I have pictures of him. I'm going to put him on my Facebook again.
You should.
He was such a good boy. Beautiful dog. Big old dude, man. His head was like this. He was a massive dog.
I love big dogs. I
He
do.
was badass. And Caesar was a bad dude too. He was young and wild, but Ivan would follow his lead. So somebody broke into our house, and that ended up not good for them. So he got deported. Can you imagine that? You had to go back to Mexico with one arm. Can you imagine that? You tell your buddies. And in Mexico, there's no disability, so you're just going to be begging for selling chicle as you get across the border. That'd be pretty much it. Or maybe he could sell elote, right? Like the guy from Oklahoma, right? Right, Abe? He could sell elote. But so what we were talking about, these beings, these creatures, when you go down the rabbit hole, like I was saying, like if you would have told me this 10 years ago, hell, 10 months ago, I would have been like, I don't know. But now what's come to light over the last several months, I don't care if people make fun of me or not. I don't give a crap. They can make fun of the book. They can say whatever they want. I know the truth because I believe that these things are happening. I believe it's real. And I believe there's a thin line between these energy vampires and these sanguination vampires. I believe that they're very similar. I think that people that are inclined to be energy vampires are narcissistic people to begin with who don't care. They don't give a crap about humanity. They're already taking people's energy like it ain't nothing and leaving them empty husks. I've seen what they do to people in relationships. I mean, it's a horrible. One of my best friends, she's in a relationship with somebody who's an extreme energy vampire. Goes out of his way to be obstinate and to cause problems. Claims this, of course, like always, he claims he's this big Christian, whatever. But he won't cuss, but he'll tell her to cuss for him. And I'm like, what?
What?
Yeah, it's so weird. It's a weird thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to get into it. He's so weird. And then I'm like, okay, he's okay with you going to hell, but he doesn't want to go to hell. And then he's real soft-spoken, but he's such a bastard. I can't even tell you how bad this guy is. And I hope you're listening because you're a dick. But anyway, it's my friend Heather's husband. He's a real prick. And he's bugged every facet of her office and the house and got cameras everywhere so he can watch her 24/7.
Oh my God, that sounds like my first husband.
Yeah, he's
What
bad.
the hell?
Very bad.
Run.
Yeah, but the problem is she can't find the prenup. So that's an actual real problem. And so
She doesn't have an attorney with it on file?
yeah, that was the problem. The attorney can't find it. Can you imagine that? Now these attorneys, man, they come up with some bullshit, man.
Oh.
They'll really screw you around, dude. If you don't stay on top of them, you got to do the job for them. Just have them as glorified clerks because that's pretty much what you got to do now. Just like
money.
like when I wrote my books, I had to have people that were just scribes. You have to stay on top of it and argue with them because they'll write who knows what. Well, one of them anyway. So you have to kind of be like, look, this is what I want. If you don't do that, then you'll end up with whatever they want.
Yeah.
And so, attorney, if you let them, they'll just do whatever the hell. They don't care.
They don't. That's for sure.
Yeah,
they take their own damn time too.
Attorney, that attorney's just going to take care of everything. No.
They just want to take your money, man. That's all they want. Yeah.
They're paid to represent you in court, but you got to do all the footwork and give them all.
No, those are real vampires, man.
Yeah.
They're the money vampires.
Vampires themselves.
Yeah, financial vampires.
But if you think about it, though, I mean,
Just looking dry out of your bank, man.
Yeah. If you stop and you think about it, what we're dealing with here, with the whole whatever, this system is set up this way for these vampiric entities to do what they do, and people think, well, it's a little far-fetched. I don't see why, after so much that we've learned, why it would be so far-fetched, considering that they know the Bible, they know the rules, they know all of the legalities. The blood is the life.
Yeah.
And they're going to use it. I mean, and people are so far behind in the race, and then they think they're in the lead. And so they make these jokes about it. And I'm like, this is not a joking matter. These people have literally infiltrated every facet of our lives. And they have given us over to a race of violent, warmongering entities. And they control this matrix that we live in. And when people talk about it, they make it a joke. They turn it into a big joke because Hollywood they make movies about this stuff. And I'm like, you know what that is? It's soft disclosure. They're basically telling you what the hell they're doing.
For sure.
Yeah. That's what it is. And then everybody's like, well, yeah, but the Matrix was a movie. Get this. I'm going to blow your mind. People are like, hey, oh, how is this even possible? You know, look at the Terminator. Look at the Terminator. The Terminator was really the prequel to the Matrix. You okay, Monica? What happened?
Yeah, I just got this really sharp pain, like out of nowhere in my arm.
Really? In your left arm?
Yeah.
That's called being a Gen Xter.
Do
Yeah.
you
Like,
have
you
high
like hit
cholesterol?
the remote and you're like,
Aging.
ow, God.
No, it's not
I
shooting
just-
pain. So it's just like, I don't know, like a really sharp pain.
Where you used
Oh,
to shoot
energy
up?
vampire.
Yeah, where I used to shoot up. The old wounds are coming back.
Yeah.
Collapsed
Oh.
vein.
Ghost pains.
I gotta find me that vein. Where was that vein? I saw that vein earlier. Stop messing around, man. Come on now.
Slap it a little.
You gonna take
I
this
just-
black part one way or the other.
I just tattooed an arrow on mine.
Oh.
Insert here.
You're like, you're not even bullshit. You're like, it's right there. I don't know why.
I'm not gonna really, but no,
Give me that 40 needle. I don't care about hip or that other stuff. Just do what you gotta do. All right.
no, but it's true. Whenever now that I'm getting older, like I notice that, like I'll just go down, like I'll get out of the shop, go down to smoke a cigarette or something, and I'll get up, and all of a sudden, like my left knee doesn't work, and I'm like, oh God!
What happened to my brother the other day? His butt cheek seized up, and he ended up like pulling a muscle. And it was like, I was like, "What did you do?" He goes, "I was just getting up to go walk around and do my rounds, and my butt cheek would work." Listen, man, it's called getting old, dude.
It's getting
That's
old. dude.
Getting old. I was talking to Lyle the other day. Lyle Blackwood, good friend of mine. I love talking to Lyle. Me and Lyle were talking because he's older. He's getting up. He's in his 50s, but
He's deceptively old for the way he
is
looks.
so funny though because he's like, my friends that are like my age and they're talking like, yeah, I got to take this pill and that pill. This because you know what that's like, and he's like, no, I don't because I take care of my body, I work out and I eat right, and he's like, I don't have those problems, It's like, so he does. I don't relate to that. I don't at all.
Show off.
Yeah, him and Ken Gerhardt, both they take care of themselves. And David is another one, David Weatherly. They're all very educated. They take good care of themselves. And it's like when David was at my house, he still had all of his hair, and he had it in a ponytail. And he looks at his watch. He's like, it's midnight. It's my birthday. So his 60th birthday, we spent at my house talking about the Devil's Backbone. And I said, wow, I didn't even know it was his birthday. And he said, yeah, today's my birthday. And I just turned 60. And I'm like, damn. And he's got a full long hair, everything. Nice guys, really good people, good dudes, man. I'm blessed to know a lot of good people. Chad Lewis, another great guy. Just a lot of really good people. There's a lot of good people in this field. As many people as there are that aren't good people, there are a lot of good ones too. And I've learned a lot from a lot of different people in this field about everything you could imagine. And so another guy I like a lot is Christopher Jordan. Christopher Jordan is a really smart individual. He's very well read, crazy smart, and I love talking to him. I really enjoyed talking to him at the conference with Ryan Edwards. What's his name? Jason McLean. He's another one. He was there.
Jason's awesome.
Jason's awesome. And Tex was there.
Mhm.
And Lyle Blackburn was there. And Christopher Jordan was there. And we all had this. And of course, Rod Nichols was there. And we had a great conversation. It was I had a blast, like 4 or 5 hours just sitting there talking at dinner and just kicking around ideas. And
You need to have another one, Josh.
we need to. Yeah, we need to have a good time. But, we are having a conference. So it's not going to be this year. It's going to be next fall.
All right.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's going to be in Branson, Missouri. I did tell Ken and Lyle. Branson, Missouri. Yeah. Hey, Krista and Brandy want to do it. I said, hey, if you want, whatever y'all want to do, if you want to do it, let's do it.
Branson, Missouri always reminds me of that Simpsons episode where he's like, they go to Branson, Missouri, and everyone looks like Charles Bronson, and he's like, "Hey, yo, Ma, can I get a cookie? No dice." He's like, "You're not in Branson, you're in Bronson, Missouri." No dice.
The Simpsons like did everything, dude. Like
Yeah.
the South Park even did a show about that. Simpsons did it, like everything.
Yeah.
That's like Tony Merkel. He's done everything now. Like you can't do anything if Tony Merkel hasn't done it. Like, so I'm happy to say that there is one thing that I was able to and I was talking about this with Anne Celine yesterday. We had a conversation, and it was funny because I talked about, that whole thing. And I said, look, we were going over what I talked about on the show the other day with the Adharit. I do believe that could be, they are a type of shapeshifters, but their true form is that of a werewolf looking creature. And one of the forms that they take, besides a cat, a dog, a snake, all these other forms, they can take that of a human, but they don't come out as a normal, good-looking human. It looks something like, and I'm going to say this, like a Neanderthalic hybrid, Bigfoot-looking thing. So I'm like, wow, maybe I'm the first to say that. Finally, I got something first, whatever. Went deep down into a lot of subjects, but there's always somebody who's either explored it or they've But what I want to see is more people interviewing and actually going deeper into these subjects. Like, we were discussing yesterday when I was talking to Anne, we were talking about the Hermetica. Hermes Trismegisto. A lot of people don't know who that is, but he was considered to be Greek's version. Like we've talked about this on the show, thought. And, he was the scribe. And there's a lot of wisdom there to be learned. But the problem is if you're whatever religion you are. Now, let's take Kiam, for example. He works on the show. Kiam, it's like when he talked about his family being Hindu, we got attacked. And they're like, first you have a Buddhist, talking about Tony, who's Buddhist Christian. And now you have a Muslim, talking about Stefan. Now you have a Hindu, like I'm collecting different religions or something, right? No, I didn't even think about that when these people came into my life, but I don't reject those people because of their different beliefs. Because that's a form of extremism. Fundamental extremism has become a real problem. And it's been something that's been in this community for a long time. And it's like, it's not enough to just admit that you worship God and Christ, is your Lord and Savior. Now they want to be able to bully you and tell you can't have these people on the show. You can't communicate with these people. And you shouldn't think like this. You shouldn't have these. You shouldn't be around people who don't believe like you. How in the heck are you supposed to spread the word if you live in an echo chamber bubble, which these people clearly do? And I'm like, there's no way that you're going to be able to get anywhere like that. And then on top of being such great Christians, they say the most horrible things that can come out of, the worst things they could think up come pouring out of them, and they type it and they say it. And it's absolutely awful. It is unbelievable. And then people, well, I want to be friends with them. Be friends with them. But can you not see what these people are doing and saying? Because if it was me and they were attacking someone I cared about, I don't care if you're my friend or not. Let's put it this way. If Abe was attacking Monica and saying those kind of horrible things, I would check his ass. I'd be like, dude, are you kidding me? We're friends, but my gosh, come on, dude. Calling her the B word or whatever it is, I'm not saying you would do that, Abe, but if you did, I would say something. But these people, whatever, they're okay with it. It's like, okay, fine. Then if you're okay with that, that shows me that you're not really a Christian the way you claim you are. So now it's just about being Pharisaic and passing judgment. So that's why whenever I talk to Rex Rude, he said that he had taken his story to a couple different people because he wanted to tell his side of it. And he said he knew, now get this is something you got to be careful for too, folks. He said he knew that I would be okay with repeating it because I'm a fair and honest person. Now, he said that. Now, you got to remember, this is coming from a self-proclaimed evil vampire. So how much weight does that hold? But I told him this. I said, I'm also not a person that is going to fall by my altruism either. because altruism is good to a degree, but it can get you in a lot of trouble. Because when you decide that you're going to be good and you're going to love everybody and whatever, well, guess what? The evil, the bad, latches onto that and is like, oh, okay, I got a sucker here, then I'm going to be able to latch onto that. And I'm going to slide in. And I told him, I said, if your thoughts are to slide in through my altruism, you're badly mistaken. And I also told him too, I said, I know by your own rules. No, he disputed this. I said, you can't hurt me. This is what he said. He said, I could hurt you in the way that we could both physically fist fight one another. He said, could I use my ability against you? He goes, yes, maybe, or no, maybe. I don't know. I haven't been in your presence physically. But I said, according to your cohorts, your former cohorts, you can't. And he said, well, that depends on your faith. So there, he's got me on that. That depends on my faith. But I also know this. He knows what he knows because he's been around a lot longer than me. So maybe he has a special ability, but he is not going to be able to use certain things, certain weapons against me because your faith in Christ. And I noticed that when someone says, in the name of Christ, I rebuke you, he hung up the phone real quick.
Yep.
So that tells me all I need to know about what he can do. So he hasn't liked me talking about his story in the sense that I have made some jokes about him, not trying to be insulting, but how am I supposed to take it other than, because it is hard to stomach when this person tells you some of the things that they're into.
Brother Josh, he's going to tell you, I'll fight you, but you can use Jesus Christ.
Pretty much is what he said. Yeah. Yeah. He didn't say those words, but yeah, that's what he said. Like,
the demon that's within him is going to flee when you say a tight bind and rebuke in Jesus Christ's name. So, in all honesty, he truly doesn't have the powers that he claims to have. It's what's within him that he allows to go in him that makes him think he has some kind of power. That's what it is.
Yep. Yeah, and he claims that if me and him fought straight up fair fight, that he would turn me into a pretzel, and I'm like, well, maybe not. I mean, I don't know what he knows, and I don't really care.
Bring him to reality, Brother Josh.
Yeah.
Well, I told him this. I said, I don't want to touch you in any shape or form. So, now here's something else that that was told to me by Joel. Gold actually works just like silver, and it can actually hurt them very bad. And it's not just for vampires. It works on werewolves too, and all types of other supernatural, subnatured beings. It works just like a regular weapon would. But the Fae are susceptible to iron. So I asked him about that. I said, there's a lot of weird, legends and lore. How does iron do against you guys? And he didn't answer me. And I said, well, I'll answer it for you. I know that it works. And there again, he said, well, it depends on the wielder. I said, well, okay. Pure at heart type person. I get it, whatever. He also accused me of not being pure of heart. And I said, why is that? He said, well, he's a deceiver like a lot of people, though. And he says, well, look at the people that you associated with before. And I'm talking about the people who are doing whatever. I said, but you see that I'm not associating with them now. And he said, you're not a very good judge of character. I said, we don't have the ability to look at someone and know what's inside of them. You don't. You can have a feeling about it, but then there's all this other bombardment we have from 5G and everything else that distorts that. So how are we to know if someone is true or pure or what? We don't. We can't see the spirit unless we go out of the body. And so he said, that's the problem. He goes, I can.
Yeah, you can see, Brother Josh, through the spiritual gift of discernment. You can see when somebody has a negative attachment on them and stuff like that. Because if you maintain your love foundation, they have to identify themselves to spiritual law. Mm-hmm. That's what's happened to me. Yeah, I could be a stranger, and they'll say something to me that only I know from my past when I was growing up, and I already know that they have a negative attachment. So I'll say like, God bless you, or I love you, and sometimes they take off that way, or I'll say a tie binding in Jesus Christ's name, and the person becomes normal. But yeah, you can see within spirit. It's just pay attention to what they're telling you. They're going to tell you something that only you know. That's when you know, like, wait a moment, this person, how does he know this? Well, it's because what's within the person that's giving you a hint. And what I'm trying to say is identifying itself to you of what it is uh, by saying something indirectly to you. It's not going to tell you exactly what it is, but it's going to give you a hint.
This is interesting. Mystical Wonderland says so many are predicted to die by 2030. It's not right. We got to fight back. Do people know what that means? What they're talking about? It's the UN. The left has this ridiculous thing where they've come up with. It says, "Oh, well, have you seen what's going to happen to us if Trump wins? We're all going to be destroyed by 2025." It's some kind of an agenda. It is really ridiculous. That isn't real. That's just some bullshit. But the 2030 thing is real. That is Agenda 2030. What that is the idea that we are not going to be able to farm our own food. We're not going to even be allowed to have gardens. We're going to have to eat basically what they give us. And then we're not going to own anything. I mean, it's pretty bad. We're all going to be the same. So what they're going to do is take from people who have worked hard and whatever they're going to give to lazy sacks of shit who didn't work. But everybody's going to be equal and we're all going to be the same. But guess what? We're all going to be equally poverty stricken. Look it up. It is literally their grand plan for us. And that goofy little beady-eyed shit that's part of the Rockefeller family, one of the 6 families that I've talked about, Bill, there with his egghead of Microsoft. He's like, you're going to eat bugs. It's okay. I have 20 houses and 50 cars. Why can't you eat bugs? Just eat bugs. I'm going to give you that. And then they're like, oh, you're going to own nothing and you're going to be happy and blah, blah, blah. Dude, this is ridiculous. Oh, yeah, Fruition just said it there. Yep. Communo-feudalism. It's a weird mix of corporatocracy and a socialistic communist regime mixed together. It's all mixed together. It's literally like the worst parts of communism mixed with Nazism. And they're going to be in charge. And people like the Orange Man are in the way. They don't like those people. And here we go again, this soft disclosure here. I'm assuming that's Anthony that says that the movie Snowpiercer was a microcosm of what the elite want. They want the Holocaust and the Holodomor mixed together against us is what they want. And all these people who don't understand, they don't understand. I will be talking about this to clarify and go in deeper on what I said on Abe's show last night. Go look at Abe's show. What I talked about last night. The sacrifice that's going to be made. We're going to be sacrificed. A lot of people will. And you got to understand what's coming. There is a lot of people who don't understand and they don't get it. They don't recognize it. What this guy that was telling me all this shit that he was telling me was basically bragging that he was on the forefront of making this happen. These beings that are going to turn us into cattle because they have struck a deal with the world shadow government and basically allow them to take us and do whatever they want with us. The deal for them is technology. What the Qatar get are species, us as cattle, getting rid of us because they're already feeding us to each other. I talked about it on Abe's show last night. And I was very specific. Go watch it. What they do, what Abe Finkelstein, who thank God is no longer with us, but what he said, and he said it very point blank, like this is what we are, this is what we do. They pretend to be something that they're not. And then here, then Anthony says Rex Rude's story was on live stream number 295. He goes through the 5 circles. There were several people who emailed me. Well, not several, like a few that emailed me and told me that they believe that he was being honest. Now, I talked to a couple of his cohorts, and they said yes. But although he is a devout liar when it comes to backstabbing and trying to get people to believe his side of the story, that he was actually being truthful with me. Why tell me the story? It wasn't to gloat. It's because this is the sick thing about these people. And I got to say this. This is the truth. They honestly believe that if they tell you what they're going to do, that somehow it circumvents the spiritual legalities of karma. They believe they can circumvent God's law because if they tell you that they're going to punch you in the face, that it's okay, because it's all upon how you react. If you don't do your due diligence, then it's on you. It is a very twisted way. Now, if you were dealing with an imperfect God, right, then I guess that would work, right? But if you're dealing with the all omnipotent, all powerful creator who doesn't need you to be there on just one day of the week to worship him and all that other stuff, stand, sit, kneel, sit, stand, sit, pray, like calisthenics and whatever else. Those people that do all that, that's fine. All the ceremony and all the pomp and all that, it means nothing to the one true living God, the Father of Christ. That is not what matters. There's a verse, there's a passage, I posted it on Facebook and got into a bunch of problems with it because the fundamentalist wackos don't understand. And they attacked me for it. What they were upset with is that I said Jesus refutes part of the Old Testament, which he did. Him and the disciples were eating grain on the Sabbath. And the Pharisees ran out there and they pointed the finger. You're committing a sin because it is the Sabbath and you're working on the Sabbath by picking the grain. And Jesus says that the day that you choose to make the Sabbath matters not. That it doesn't matter. He said a lot of things that were very incendiary toward the power base.
Yeah. So he even pulled it off on when they were eating with the Gentiles and one of the disciples called out and he was like, "Hey, we're not supposed to be." And he's like, "Dude, you're amongst guests." Like I'm paraphrasing, but you're amongst guests, and it doesn't matter so much what goes into your mouth as what comes out of it, because there's no bone in the tongue, but you can pierce somebody's heart with it.
That's right.
Straight up.
Yeah, and one of the things that people need to understand too, like I was asked this question by Anthony's younger brother, and he's one of my nephews, and he says, "Uncle Wolf, why is it that Jewish people and Islamic people can't eat pork, but we can? They can't eat shellfish, but we can." I said, because Jesus told us that doesn't matter. And Islam, even though they believe that he was a prophet, they don't accept that he was the son of God. That's my big problem with them. And Judaism doesn't accept him at all, period. So they believe in this archaic rule. Now, it was something back then. It was a pragmatic thing. You didn't want to eat pork because
of the exactly. No, I did my college thesis on the dietary law from Leviticus, and as far as why back then you wouldn't want to, why you wouldn't want to eat for health reasons, because pork, if you don't cook it all the way, you get sick. Shellfish is, basically the cockroaches of the ocean, and also birds of prey, because their bellies are full of rotten meat. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's but that was also the law to the Levites, right? That wasn't necessarily the law to all of Judaism and all of the 12 tribes of Judaism. That was in Leviticus for the Levites.
Well, actually, there weren't 12 tribes of Judaism. There were 12 tribes of Israel.
Israel, yeah,
Judea was one tribe.
Judea was one tribe, right? Yeah.
And
No,
they
you're
were
right.
the priesthood, and amazingly, they managed to survive, and everyone else was destroyed.
Yeah.
But
You know what? I
that's
actually,
not really what happened.
I actually came across a little. It was just an inkling of, hey, this might make sense. But the Levites were the only ones that could actually carry the Ark of the Covenant, right?
Mhm.
And if you remember the Ark of the Covenant, the way it was actually manufactured, it was laced in gold. It was a big, heavy thing. So it would have taken a lot of people to actually carry this thing around the desert. So whenever you think of Levites, you can also think of levitationism. So maybe they were levitating this thing, I'm not saying I subs to it, but I saw that and I was like, that makes a lot of sense. Levitation, Levites, they're the only ones that can carry this heavy stuff to where it needs to go.
Electromagnetic energy
Right.
used by an ancient civilization that they
Right.
still had the energy, the ability to use, the same as how the pyramids were built.
Right. The technology. Yeah.
Because
Exactly.
they would have had it because they were in Egypt.
Yep.
Interesting too. The thing is, when they say, "Oh, the Judea and the tribe of Judea was the only one that was spared the destruction by the Assyrians," when God says, "Assyria, behold the rod of my anger," and He unleashes it upon Israel for their defiance, and amazingly, only the priesthood was left. That is not what happened. What happened was the remnants of what was left all fled to the south and became Judea. Jesus was technically not a Judean. He was a Galilean. He was from the,
Galilean.
and so they looked at him as like, oh, you're not one of us. You're one of those remnants of the old tribes that were punished by God. When in fact, they were punished too. They just ran to Judea and said, "Okay, we're here we're the priesthood." No, you weren't. No, you weren't. You were the remnants of what was escaped. You escaped from Assyria. And so then they said, "Oh, well, we're this and we're that. Yeah, whatever. Sure you are." And they became pious and holy and continued to do what they were doing, which was not good. But now they're like, oh, because God punished us for being whatever. Now we're going to pretend to be super pious and super good, and so now we're super Judean, and that's really what happened. And so Jesus comes along, and they're like, who is this man who thinks he can talk about us? Who tells us that we can't money change and commit usury?
Right.
But the thing is, Jesus was not really into what they were doing, and he said it many, many, many times. If you look at 146 books that aren't in the Bible, he says it about 1,000 times. He keeps telling you over and over again. He's like, your father is not my father. Your father is Satan, and my father is God. And he kept saying, your father is you're this devil worshiper,
The God of this world. Right.
the God of this world. And a lot of these evangelicals will tell you that their birthright is an earthly inheritance. And you're like, wait a minute. There is no earthly inheritance. It's only a spiritual inheritance.
Right.
And these people who don't really actually know the Bible, they learn a few verses and they spout it out, and they talk about Jehovah, they talk about Yahweh, and they say these names and Abba Father and all this other stuff. And they make themselves feel special, and they stand on the street corner and spout it out. And they point and they said, that man is a heretic. That man is evil. He's speaking of things.
Right.
What things? Things that they killed Jesus for. They killed Jesus for these things, and he's saying them too. Because that is why even the rabbis will tell you there is no Old Testament. Literally, I was on a show with a rabbi who said there was no Old Testament. He said it's just a series of books that Christians decided to put together and try to build a timeline, which is what the original Jews did. They did that.
Against the begots. Right.
Yeah, and they just put a bunch of stuff together and they built a timeline, and they said this is the Bible. But what was really the Bible? Because the Bible was picked apart and torn apart and re-put back together, and a bunch of stuff was taken out of it by the Council of Nicaea in
Nice.
325. Yeah. So that is a real problem. But people say, well, let me ask you a question, Josh. How does this work? How does discernment work? Well, if you pray to God through Christ, and I see Christians making this mistake all the time. They say, I worship Jesus. That is not correct. You worship God, his Father.
You don't worship man.
Christ. He is the only way to the Father. But the problem is, too, though, some people will go to a man to ask him to absolve them of their sins. The only person who was ever a man that can absolve you of your sin is Jesus, and he goes to his Father for you. Like he goes to bat for you. You go to him.
He's the good lawyer. The only good lawyer.
The only good lawyer that ever existed was Jesus Christ. And I tell people this, and then they lose their collective minds, and they go crazy, and they literally go onto your Facebook and say you're a heretic, and that you're going to burn in hell, and that people that follow you will burn in hell. But guess what? They did the same thing to Jesus. They said he was the son of Beelzebub. They say now in the Talmud, it says that he's boiling in feces and that he's burning in hell. His mother was a whore and she mated with a Roman soldier. There's all these horrible, horrible, horrible things that they say about him. They blaspheme him in every way possible. They besmirch his name. Atheists, Satanists, the Khazaric Jews, they all do the same thing. They attack Christ. And they say, you're worshiping a man. Well, they are. They're worshiping the image of Jesus, which is not correct. And Jesus never told anyone to worship him. He never said that. He said to follow me. And he said that I am the way and the life.
The way, the light, and the life. Yeah.
And any who believeth in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. He tells you, though, that you should worship his Father. He is the one true living God, and that is where a lot of the problems come in. But if you're me and you try talking to these people, it becomes a Monty Python skit. You know, it's like, on Life of Brian, when the guy, they're about to stone him, and he's like, all I said was this fish is good enough for Jehovah. And they're like, and then they throw stones at him and they drop a big rock on him, and because it's a stoning. It's good old-fashioned stoning. We got to stone this man. So the enemies go around and they whisper and they speak and they conspire and they tell people, we got to get rid of this guy because he's saying things that we don't like. It makes us uncomfortable. And what he's telling us is that all people should be welcome. And instead of doing what Jesus says they're supposed to do, they do the exact opposite, and they do it in the name of God. And they do things that aren't fit for animals. They call people's wives names. They call people's friends and family names. They get involved in the business and affairs of people's wives and families and men, and doing things that even the Pharisees would probably blush at. And then they say that they are in a holy war. You need to stop and look at what happened with Christ. I'm not comparing myself and saying I'm like Christ, but God tells us over and over again that this is awful. This is bad, right? He's telling you this over and over again. His son comes, they murder him. That's what they did. They hung him up on a cross, and now to this day, they're proud of it. And these people, they go and they back it up. But now they're doing it in the name of Christ. They're saying, well, we worship God, we worship Christ, we do this, we do that. But nothing they do is Christ-like at all. They bear false witness. They commit every sin that you could possibly think of. They twist and turn the words of Jesus, and they try to use it against people. So that creates a lot of problems. There's a schism that has been created by these people. And if you talk about certain things, I was chastised and criticized for witnessing to the young man who was on my show on Saturday. I was told that I should never have even entertained or talked to him. This man, to me, needed someone to tell him the truth. The Kabbalah is a very dangerous book. It is the book of Jewish mysticism, and it has a lot of occultic magic that's very powerful.
Yeah.
I don't believe that you should mess with any of that. Now,
If Madonna subscribed to it, you got a question.
Yeah, that'll tell you everything right there. Madonna's old wrinkled self is going to do it. But these people, like, they said, how does he know so much about magic unless he's practicing these things? He's a sorcerer. Well, they said that about Jesus too, didn't they? They said he was a sorcerer. Anybody that they don't like, they become, that's an apostate. That's a heretic to them. But you remember, Jesus says, remember, they hated me first. Remember that. He says that. And they hated him with a passion. And ultimately, they killed him. I've been threatened more times than I can count, folks. I'm not going to stop. And there you go right there. Thank you for posting that, Anthony. Jesus witnessed to those who needed his word the most. They pointed out that I lived with a Muslim from Haiti, that also Tony was Buddhist. They pointed out that I had a Hindu on my show who they said killed children because he worked for Moderna, and he admitted that he worked there when he was a young man and wasn't aware of what he was doing. He was helping with the clinical trials. He thought he was doing a good thing. And they attacked him for that. And my brother says, wrong brother, I was the sorcerer. Yes, my brother actually was a Satanist. He's a born-again Christian, probably stronger in the faith than anybody I know. At one time, he was very much a Rasputin. He says, retired. But now he's a Christian, and he's fought the good fight. I'm happy to say that I was a big part of that, of bringing him to Christ. This isn't a braggart thing. This is something that had to happen because I love my brother and I didn't want to see him go to hell. Me and my brother have had this conversation many times. We don't do this for the reward of heaven. We're not even looking to heaven. We'll be happy if God just lets us go to jail in heaven. Because so many people think that they're worthy of the kingdom of God. But let me tell you this. This is who's worthy of the kingdom of God. No one. Not one single person in this chat or on YouTube or even on the internet or in the entire world is worthy of the kingdom of heaven. It is a gift that none of us deserve. We are all vile. We've all committed horrible sins. We have all fallen short of the glory of God. But I can say this, I don't call someone's wife the B word and then the very next day do a show and pretend like I'm a good person. I can say this, I didn't go on someone's chat and bear false witness from a deceased man, taking his words and twisting them and lying. I didn't do that. And am I talking about certain people specifically? You bet you I am. But I'm going to be a nice guy today, and I'm not going to say their names. But those are the people you're choosing to follow. And then they say that I am a heretic and that I'm going to burn in hell. Well, if I'm going to hell, there's other people that are going to be going too.
Judge not lest thee be judged, man. I can't tell anybody. You know, and I got my stepdad. He's one of those. I wouldn't. Yeah, I'll say it. Pretty much like a Bible thumper about a lot of stuff. But me and him had this conversation. He's like, "Well, I know I'm going to heaven," and I'm like, "Oh, well, that must be nice, you know, because I don't freaking know, like, you know, because I don't know what my true creator's, how he's gonna fit. Yes, through Christ, eventually, you know, I will, you know, but might it be like he might be like, you need to do some time in the charter version of heaven." Like,
That's
go
right.
kick it over there for a couple of millennia, and then we'll talk about it. But I just think on both sides, on people having the full faith that yes I am, and the no you're not is it's just ridiculous to me. Like, because those are absolutes that are made by mortals that have no idea about God's true plan and how God actually works, because we don't, because we're not on that level. So we can't say on either way this or that. Yeah, that dude's damned to Hades and this dude's a righteous dude. The Pope's going straight to the Father, and that crackhead over there is going straight to the devil. It's just bullshit. As far as, sorry,
No,
don't
it's
mean
the
to.
truth. I
Don't
mean,
mean
it
to
is.
cut. I don't like to cuss when we talk religious stuff, but that's bullshit to me. Yeah.
It's the truth. I mean, and when you sit there and you break it down and you get down to brass tacks, and the people who have done these things, have said these things, I'm not even responding to these people anymore. All I'm doing is just reposting what they say. And I'm not even the one reposting it anymore. I don't even care. It's like, let it be. Because it's gotten so out of hand that if anybody, unless you just have two brain cells that are fighting for supremacy in your head and that's all you got left, maybe you will believe what they're saying.
Mm.
That I worship space aliens, that I am a werewolf, that I am a reptilian shapeshifter myself. Next, they haven't called me a vampire yet, but I'm sure that's next. That I belong in a straitjacket and I belong in the federal penitentiary, that I was involved in a conspiracy to kidnap someone's child and take them out of their home. I was involved in every possible way imaginable: witchcraft, sorcery, Satanism, Luciferianism, that I worship Leviathan, and that I even wear a symbol of Leviathan. They have said every blasphemous, slanderous, horrible, evil thing. They've called me that: the Antichrist, a blasphemer, a heretic, an apostate. I'm a homosexual. I'm an anti-homosexual. I'm a racist. I'm actually a Zionist Jewish person, but then I'm an anti-Zionist Jewish person, and then I am a Nazi. I am a communist. I am every possible thing that they could slander me with. What is left?
And all of that from
Insinuated
Taylor.
child
All of that.
molestation? I mean,
All of that from Taylor, Texas. That's a lot to pack in, bro.
I look at it like this. I had a field day with what you said, Joe, when they told you, when they came to you with their Pharisaic bullshit, as you said, and they said that I was the devil, and you said, I think the devil would have more than 36,000 followers on YouTube. I mean, if Taylor Swift can have 300 million people, I think the devil would have quite a few.
Yeah, the devil's got, in the billions.
At least have at least a couple billion. Have at least a billion. I mean, it's hard to And then they say, why is this happening? How can this be? No one is more hated than he who tells the truth. Plato says that. I knew the deal. I knew the deal getting into this, that I was going to say things that were going to piss people off. Will there be a bad end for me? Who knows? Because I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep pissing these people off because I'm a grass burr in their saddle. And so nothing is going to make me stop. And they want me to literally turn around and lie. They want me to do the opposite of what I'm supposed to be doing. And so I'm not going to do that. That's never going to happen. And so I'm going to sit up here every night that I'm on the air, and I'm going to say what I know to be the truth. They're going to try and silence me. That's it, period. Now, do I believe every single thing that comes across my desk? No, I don't. Do I say, hey, this story is absolutely true because the so-and-so says it's true, blah, blah, blah. Do they do that? Yeah, they do that. They say that it's all true. You don't know that, and you can't say that. You can say that, but you can't say it that that's true truthfully because you don't know. And so what have I done? Because I dared to say, hey, there's other theories out there that we could postulate on, and I was told not to. I was told not to by a person that thought he was the sponsor of my show, and that he began to tell me what I could say, what I couldn't say, and that he was going to eventually do what he had to do, like, to stop me. And I told him, well, good luck to you, sir, but that's not how this works. I don't roll that way. You're not going to stop me from talking about what I believe to be the truth. So that's where we're at. And then this other guy gets involved, and it just keeps going and going and going. Now, this thing could have been over. It was already over if these other people hadn't inserted themselves into my life and tried to take so much of my show. It doesn't belong to you. You didn't create it. You didn't build it. You had no hand in it. Now, because they couldn't make me do and say what they wanted me to do and say, now they want to destroy me. Because if they can't control me, they want to control how people see me. It's a very narcissistic way to be. I have not called on my followers to unsubscribe to them. I've seen some of my followers in their chat, and I'm not calling them out for it, and I'm not attacking them for it. Let them, they can listen to whoever the hell they want to listen to. But just remember and think about who you're listening to. Look at the things that they've been doing and listen to what they've been saying. It's awful. And if that's the kind of person that you want to associate with, then you are welcome to do that. And I'm not going to judge you for it, because a lot of people still want to believe that these people are good. But that goodness, that from what I've seen, if you were me, it left a long time ago. And it closed the door and turned the lights out behind it.
That's such the embodiment of why I have such a very, like, just disdain for organized religion, everything that you're saying right now, because the people that are in there, they use it as the sword and shield. How can you stand there and call yourself a Christian, a follower of Christ, and do all of this? If Jesus saw somebody that he truly felt was all of those things that you're being described to be, he wouldn't just start throwing stones at that person. He would actually work to reverse that and help them. And they are not doing that. So they cannot call themselves that. Anybody who does that can't.
Yeah, absolutely, Monica. Yeah.
It incenses
He who is not sinned cast the first stone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, absolutely, Monica. I agree 100%.
Yep.
And people that follow them and believe that. I mean, if you really believe that is like a God-fearing person doing that, or somebody who is a true Christian, then you're no better. You know, just like I said on Joe's, show a few weeks ago, like, going to church every Sunday and calling yourself a Christian is the same as standing in a garage and calling yourself a Cadillac, right? Going to church doesn't make you a Christian any more than standing in the garage makes you a Cadillac. Like, it's what you do, right? And it's what's in your heart. And if all you're doing is spewing hate, then what is that? Because that is not what Jesus was about. That is not what Christianity is about. So how can you stand there, do all this crap, and call yourself that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, no. Jen even saw a piece of it, and she was when the B word was called out, like, she herself, she was like, she wasn't even thinking about me going, these called her. She was like, I wish a motherfucker would. Like, I'll handle it up until I can't, and then when I need backup,
They got the call out mentality, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When they just try to take verses out of the Bible to curse try to curse you, say no mercy and all this stuff. That's not what Jesus Christ is about. So they're doing the opposite, in which to me it's cult-like mentality. That's what witches and warlocks do. They find a way in. They also know the Bible. Back when the Bible only takes certain verses that they can use to try to cast an indirect spell at somebody, and that's exactly what they're doing, is trying to cast bad things towards Brother Josh Turner. That's why, you got to defend yourself, and you say, I always pray for him, for the Turners on my show. I'll say, if there's any witchcraft and necromancy, we tie bind and rebuke in Jesus Christ's name to go back 7 times fold back to the sender. But yeah, the action they're doing is not of God. It's the opposite.
And the prayers.
oh boy,
It's
but
just
it's like he's stuck in that mentality, like a narcissistic mentality, And then,
but
I
it's
mean,
yeah,
trust me, you call somebody the B word. If you would do that to my old lady, I would have knocked him out straight up.
How
yeah.
I
can
wouldn't
Well,
you?
even
see,
playing around with that.
yeah, in my world, Jen would have been like, "Nah, dude, I got this."
My wife's not
like
that kind of person, and he did it to her and Krista Tweedy. But what was
no, I
so,
dig it.
so
Yeah.
insidious about it was like, I mean, it was just an attack. I wake up to that. And then this person has literally done what the roofer did. And he's gone door to door to door, contacting every single person that knows me in this field. And two of them contacted me yesterday, and I had drawn out conversations with them. And they were just like, look, we just want you to know we support you. He's reached out to us and said this, and that. I didn't do that. I didn't go and message people and tell them, hey, you know what? Let me tell you bad things. That's not what I did. I've defended myself. Those I'm going to call them gentlemen because they're not. Those two maniacs that said those things in
Individuals.
the chat
Yeah.
and what they were saying about the late Johnny Henderson was absolute garbage. I'm going to say this. I'm going to go on the record as saying this. I don't believe that. Johnny and me were friends up until his death. And I did speak to his son, and I appreciate that he stood up and said that that was not true, that he knew that me and his dad were close. Now, I will say this. That man, Johnny Henderson, never said anything about the swordsman, never said anything against him. They were friends up until his death. The other guy, he only said this, and this is toward the end of his life, that he began to doubt his story. He never came out fully and denounced it to me. And I'm not going to lie and say that he did. He didn't speak ill of the one guy, but he did, in a roundabout way, say that he didn't really believe, that he didn't. And at one time, he was doubting and didn't know what to believe. Now, I know that the one guy, the liar, I call him the liar of the LBL, said a lot of things about the swords guy, the spearman, whatever. And he said a lot of really awful things. And I backed him up. I told the spear guy, the sword guy, I told him, I said, look, I said, this man is saying a lot of things and I'll back you up. I'm on your team. We're on the same side. And I didn't believe his story. My sin was that I agreed with Jody and Nick and said that I don't believe it. I'm sorry. And of course, that man put me and my family through hell for months. And I didn't get much support from the swordsman. But when the shoe was on the other foot, I supported him. And I didn't get much support in the war with the Filthy Five from the swordsman. But when the shoe was on the other foot, I supported him. And now, when these people launch their little maniac, fundamentalist, extremist attacks, he sat back and watched and did nothing. And then when this liar of the LBL brings him this supposed person that I am, now he's all of a sudden up in arms and ready to fight me. And he's going at me and saying and doing things that he never did against the other enemies that really did attack him. So a fake attack leads to all this and now he's saying that he doesn't even care if that was true or not. So he's admitting that he just wanted to attack me. Well, it didn't work out the way that they had thought it was going to. What they thought was going to happen was that which is falling should be pushed, because I know how they believe, very Nietzschean, and that they were going to shove me out into the outer bounds of the universe or whatever, because I was already weakened from having to fight these other frauds. And they are frauds, and they got what they had coming to them. But 5 frauds, 10 frauds, it doesn't make it true. You can have 1,000 frauds. It's still just a bunch of frauds. They're all a bunch of hoaxers, hucksters, fraudsters, grifters is what they all are. And they're angry because we here at PRT are doing real work. And I don't have to sit here and slander them. The truth defends itself. And I thank very much for the young man, my friends in the late Johnny Henderson's son, for stepping up and telling the truth. Now he said something on my page because I had said something about them, and I stand by this. It's my opinion that the swordsman knew He knew that this liar of the LBL story was not true, and I think he stood to financially gain from it. That's my opinion. I can't prove that. And yes, he did try to get me to slant the interviews in favor of this man against Jody and Nick. But I didn't do that. I tried to be as impartial as possible. Go back and watch. Did they come down on me afterwards? Of course they did. Did I ask to interview them? No, I did not. Johnny Henderson approached me and said, look, I want to be able to say our side of it. And Johnny Henderson was only backing up what he was told by this individual, the attack of the LBL. Do I believe it? No, I don't. And then the final interview was me, Nick Valenti, Barton Nunley, Ken Gerhard, and Roger, whatever the hell his real name is, the person, the coward that never shows his face, the man that made up a story about me being a homosexual, hanging out in the Iron Bull, dancing around with men, you know, or whatever, the Iron Bear.
Sorry, I snorted.
I mean, he has, you know, he's one of the people in this community that I wish never would have never shown up ever, because he has caused so much strife and so much pain for so many people. And I'll go on record as saying I haven't believed his story for a long time. Nobody believed it in the end. Everybody was in agreement that his story was not true after that final interview. We all talked. And I wasn't the one that said it. I just listened. And his best friend now is the one that was like, yeah, I don't believe it. It's a done deal.
So like a broke mountain interview there, man. Martin and Roger.
Yeah.
I heard
very...
him talking about you not showing his face, and he sounded like he got some sugar in his tank.
Yeah, well, you know, golly, I'm going to tell you, well, I was attacked by Aleutian dog men that were from another planet of the, you know, whatever, dude. I don't care. You know, and then the way he talks, well, you know, I will, and gave a God blessed day. Ooh, I'm going to bring up some more slander next week. That's pretty much it. You know, and so these people think that if they all team together, that somehow a big, huge pack of liars is going to take down somebody who's telling the truth. Well, you want to swing swords? I'm swinging a sword right now. To swing the sword of truth. I know I saw the beginning to the end of all this. And Abe, you called it way back.
Yeah.
Way back. Long, long ago. Right after me and you had our thing, because one of their little buddies had gotten us into and they've been at this for a long time. They've been at this for a long time. This isn't new. This whole war started because they attacked you and Bettina. And so, they are going to continue to terrorize and do whatever. But the problem is that people give them attention. People give them money. Folks, if you're a listener of our show, their show, whatever show, I don't really care. I have said that I don't want donations on the show. Don't give me donations. I don't need it. Do something good for yourself. Buy the membership only so you can do the giveaway on Sunday. It's like $5, whatever. Because I want something for people who are members. We don't put anything behind the paywall. But these people, they take tons of donations.
But no, it goes back to the same thing as like when we're in like 3rd to 5th grade or whatever, and you get in the circle and even your homies are there and everyone's like, fight. And you got the circle around you, you know what I mean? And everyone's like, fight. Dude, like if y'all were really, but we were kids back then, so we didn't understand the whole concept of it. But if you were really kids back then and you were really friends, you would actually try to deter the situation. You wouldn't just be on one side or not on any side and just wanting to see the blood fest happen. You know what I mean? Like, and to me, that's kind of what it gets into is like they get into these push and pull kind of an aspect of it. And it's just wanting to see the blood fest and wanting to see the gladiators compete, and it really isn't about that, because everything that we all talk about all the time, that we actually do talk about it when we talk about, not necessarily religious, but godly things, that it's not about fighting over whether Bigfoot's a natural animal or whether it's a paranormal or whether, it's really not about that. It's coming together as a community, and we all really should, and we shouldn't have these cheerleaders and these fake ass people pushing this fight on against us. We should come together as a community, straight up. That's the way I feel about it. Like it's juvenile, and if we really addressed it as grown ass men, yes, I disagree with this. Yes, I disagree with that, but we can live harmoniously together and simply disagree to disagree. Fine.
Yeah.
I've
there's
said
no
many
reason
times that if they just left me alone, we'd leave them alone, walk away. But every day you wake up, it's a new bunch of crap.
Yeah, and that's whole ass bullshit. I mean, sorry, but
no, I mean it's
to me,
true. I mean, yeah, I'm just fed up. I'm to the point where if we could just be left alone, think of all the work that could be done if we work together instead of attacking. Think of all the things we could accomplish.
Yep.
I spent an entire day and night trying to reason with this man, and there was no reasoning. My wife spent 2 whole days and 2 nights. There was no reasoning in him. His mind was made up. War is what he wanted. And then he turned it around and said, that's what I wanted. That is not what I wanted. I never wanted this. I did predict it, though. And I told Abe, I said, it's not if, it's when. We knew it was coming. We knew it was coming, and I said it. I told you too, Joe. I said that this is what they want, and this is what they're going to do, and that's what they did. That because the roofer was determined to get him into it, and he did it. Now, whether they believe this is really a holy war or not, I don't know.
Yeah, he gave himself away when he was defending the roofer. When he insulted me. Then that's when I knew that he was the one in cahoots with him. So I was just waiting for everything to reveal itself. Eventually, a lie lasts till you run out of lies. Then the truth comes out, and that's what happened. He stopped playing the game, and his true self came out, and that's what you see in the insults and how he is. That's his real true self. Because nobody's doing nothing to this guy to get him pissed off. He's just pissed off at the world by himself because of the acts that he does. The disrespect, the rudeness, and just being wicked. Like a undercover, trying to be an undercover wicked person. Calling other people, trying to say bad things about Josh Turner. He's just a wicked person, man. That's his true nature.
Yeah.
And everybody sees it now. I told him to him through a messenger. I said, yeah, you reveal yourself to everybody else. You can blame for the people leaving your channel because look what you're doing. It's not nothing of God. The acts and the works that you do are not of God. It's being wicked. I told him maybe ask God for forgiveness and repent for your sins and change. But I don't know what kind of God he's believing in, but Jesus Christ is about forgiveness and love. That's what we're supposed to do.
Yep.
Forgive one another, move on. I mean, me and Brother Josh watched it, and it wasn't even. I never had nothing against him. It was the people that are around. Some were telling things to him. Some were telling things to me.
It's the fight.
Way back then,
Yeah.
You won't get.
And so, if, like I said, my hand to any holy book on earth, my hand to God, if they would just stop and leave me alone and go away, I would stop. I'd leave it alone. But a couple of them have pushed it to the point where I have to, we gave out cease and desist. We did what we were supposed to do, and they violated them, and they don't care. They literally don't care. So it is now something that we have to deal with legally, and it's going to cost a fortune, and it's unfortunate, but these people just are not stable. They're not normal. It is
the lawyers are a dog damn devil.
Yeah.
They will.
Extremism. I mean,
I don't think it's nothing dealing with about the Anunnaki and none of that. It's because I believe they're an occult-like mentality. and they do wicked things. You know, they're infiltrating to pretend that they believe in God, but the things that they do are wicked, which that's a form of witchcraft,
Mm-hmm.
necromancy, or
Well, look at the
things
prayers.
that they're trying to play.
The prayers
look
that
at
they
the
were
prayers.
saying that
Very
they hope that I die and that
Yeah.
God has no mercy on me and animals eating me. All these, it was crazy. The stuff that they were saying, you were just like, what is this? Like, why would you pray? How is that a prayer? Like, what
It's
prayer?
not a prayer. That's a
Yeah,
curse.
Curse.
I didn't
That's
I didn't see none of that, but yeah,
it was ridiculous. It was
if you're gonna pray to God and put anybody into damnation instead of forgiveness,
That's not of God.
that's my
not.
personal opinion. That's not the right God you're praying to.
No.
The Creator doesn't work that way.
And I'm not even going to say that person's name. She has proven time and again in this community to be a troublesome person. She's very quarrelsome. She has a lot of problems with people. But to say those things and to wish those kind of harms on us is unbelievable.
Okay, who do you think you are passing judgment on somebody like that? Like, I mean, really, who do you think you are? I mean, you study the Bible? Like, is it your place to be doing that? No.
I know.
It
I'm
all
the crackhead
counteracts
of the
everything they're
group.
trying to like pose themselves off as. Dude,
I figured her out a long
Yeah,
time
these
ago.
people.
Like
Crazy.
about a year and a half ago, I had figured her out and I deleted her off my friends list. I knew she
Yeah.
was infiltrating then. I would tell everybody, hey, what's up with this? I said the name of the person, and because she keeps on messaging me all throughout the night, you know, kind of like the Riffer guy. You know, I knew she was up to something.
They were going door to door like Kirby vacuum salesmen and like, can we tell you about our savior? You know, and can we tell you how much he hates Josh Turner? And they're like, yeah, I'd like you not to. And then they continue to do it. And many people had come to us and say, look, man, you know, they're saying this, and that. And I'm just like, man. And there's screenshot after screenshot after screenshot of what these people have done and said. And I mean, they have done things that is just, it's beyond the pale. But in a way, though, you got to look at it like this. I see a positive and a silver lining in a lot of things. And they've done so much and said so much that the majority of the people have seen this and gone like, what in the hell? And so they see it. But what gets me is that there are still some people that are over there applauding them and still okay. And I'm going like, what is wrong with you that you would be okay with this? I mean, how is that okay? I would never. I just can't.
Maybe because they're part of the same as them. You know, the way they think, their mentality, cult-like mentality. Maybe they're the same as them, and maybe they're moles, you know, that are infiltrating, and whatever you put, they send it to them, and vice versa. You know, moles.
Well, that and also I always say, you know, like common sense isn't common. You know, if you're gonna sit there and I'm not getting political, but if you're gonna sit there and go, yeah, I'd rather the president that craps himself on stage over somebody who has better policies, yeah, just because I don't like the guy.
Yeah,
you know, yeah. But you will have that and you will have those people, and you will have people that don't make sense in life. And we run across them all the time. Go to 6th Street, go to Bourbon Street. You'll have people that completely do not make sense on anything, and they feel that they are righteous and point in their, and so be it, fine. So you feel that way, okay about it. Do your thing, man. But if you're really going to try to, you know, swerve the complex to where it comes out in your favor, you're going to have some issues because you're going against everything that you're talking about, and you're doing it right there in front of your own rhetoric. You know?
I think one of the females from that camp said something about my mother. You know, my mother's been deceased since 1985, and the way she passed away was domestic violence, and she targeted me, making fun of her. You know, and you know, I just left that up to God, and you know, I forgave her and stuff. And next thing I know, she's like tornado passed through and she took out her home or something like that. You know, it's like that's nothing to do with me, but you know, I left it up to God because you know, the past is the past for me. You know, I've done move on forward, but when they try to throw something like that to try to see if they can hurt you in the heart or whatever, it's not going to hurt me. I have Jesus Christ in my life, and I don't accept that negativity. But when you do things like that, you don't make fun of the dead because things can happen. And then when I heard that the lady lost her home and all this stuff, it's like, hey, that's part of karma. No,
Dude, y'all want to hear?
There's nothing dealing with me. I can keep them in prayer, but that's about it. Go ahead, bro.
Y'all want to hear it? Y'all want to hear a really trippy, quick story? I'm gonna have to bounce after this because
we're almost done.
Yeah. But really trippy story. So y'all know my brother passed last August, right before the conference and all that, and I made that known. So I have severe sleep apnea. Like, if I lay on my stomach, I'm straight, but I haven't got like the mask because I can't afford it and all that good stuff. But I passed out on the couch like 3-4 nights ago. Is during my weekend, which is Monday, Tuesday. And I had a dream, and Jake rarely comes into any of my dreams. And this is kind of like bone chilling for me. And in my dream, he was like, dude, what are you doing? What are you doing? And he punched me in the throat. And I woke up like catching my breath. Like I was like choking out, sleep apnea style. And I was like, dude, and I like woke up and I was like, dude, man, like he saved me. You know what I mean? Like it was like one of those things. Very effing weird. Like Jake punched me in the throat to wake me up because I was choking on my own shit. Straight up. So I don't know where to go from that other than that. There are those things on the other side of the veil. And I believe we're protected by people that loved us that have gone, even though they're not, solidly here. I believe in like the residual ghost thing and, the whole 9 yards. But when it comes to like guardian angels and stuff like that, I think that was one of them. And I think I had an experience with it because he literally punched me in the throat until and I woke up and I was literally choking on my own shit.
I think that was a demon that did that to you.
It was a damn demon.
Only the demons would save you because you're so evil.
They would. They're like, you know what? You got to wake up to do more sin, you son bitch. But yeah. But anyway, man, I'm gonna roll out. I gotta go shower up, and because Jen's gonna be like, "Don't get in the shower that late. You'll wake me up, you asshole." But I want to tell everybody out there, Monica, hey, Josh, thank you all for having me on. God bless. Thank you for everybody in the chat who's joining in. Keep searching for the truth because it's out there. And one of these days, if we're lucky enough, we're going to find it, whether in this life or the next.
Mm-hmm. All right, Brother Joe. I'll see you.
All right, bro.
Night.
All right, Abe, I'm going to see you too.
All righty. Peace out.
Night, Abe.
Monica, I still disagree about the Tulpa. But,
That's fine.
it's a small matter. I mean, whether it was, was it right or wrong? And part of me just wants to be right.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
Like I don't? Yeah.
Okay.
Clearly.
I just don't want to get it jumped on. I'm walking on the side. Oh, there's Monica. Jumps out. What's up now? What's up now? Spinning the bat around. I'm good.
Did I tell you the story where I did that to a guy who stole from me?
Well, no. Did you really do that?
I really did that. Well, I mean, he evaded me, but I went looking.
What did he steal?
So I was living alone and I had some friends over, and I knew him. He was an acquaintance, right? And it was a necklace and a ring that my father had bought me for Christmas. And it was very important because it was like the first jewelry that my father had ever bought for me. And stupid me, I was 18. And stupid Monica wasn't thinking, and I left it on my bathroom counter. Well, he used my restroom, and later in the night when everybody left, he was the only one that had gone in there.
One of my brother's friends. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I went in the restroom because I was like, shh, I forgot my stuff in there, right? So I go in, of course it's gone. He's the only one that was in there, so I knew it was him. So I had friends try to contact him, and he was blowing them off. So I just, took old Trusty, the baseball bat, and went to his house. And I had it on my shoulder, and I knocked on the door, and his mother answered the door.
Oh.
And she said, "Hi, honey." And I said, "Hey, is whatever his name was, like Jim." I said, "Jim home?" She said, "No, honey, he's not here right now." And I said, "Do you know where he is?" And she said, "No, he didn't tell me where he was going." And I said, "Well, you tell him that Monica is looking for him." And she said, "Okay, honey, I will." And so I just went back to my car, and I was looking for him. I was going to go all Stewie, where's my money?
I know that you took it. Stop acting.
Yeah.
Don't give me that stupid look, Brian.
Where's my money, Brian? Where is it?
You're whooping his ass.
I was ready.
He like beats his ass. Like, so funny. Yeah, Stewie.
I would have too. I'd have chased his ass down the street with that baseball bat. Where's my shit?
Head Trip says, Monica and I are spirits. My brother's like, I love this woman. Your penchant for violence has endeared you to many people. Well, Monica, you know what? I check out the channel. You want to plug your show?
Yeah, so it's my paranormal, or our, not mine. It's our paranormal world, and I'm on every Thursday night at 10 p.m. Central. And I also have a Facebook page, Our Paranormal World, and TikTok and Insta.
You got to get me on the show.
I do. So I will ask you so sweetly, will you be on my show, Josh?
No.
Okay.
You disagreed with me in public. Everybody knows what a man-child I am. No. Believe in me
in your place, woman. No.
like on what was it? What was that? Believe in me or die. What was it? The Year One. Remember the movie Year One?
Oh God.
Like, you there, golden boy, rub me with oil or die. It's all fat with all the hair or whatever. And he's like, Michael said is like rub me with oil or die. I don't know.
It was like the old kick or death. Kick or death.
Cake or death. You know about that. My wife loves that. Nellie is like, that is her favorite.
Oh, I love that whole skit, the whole
when he's talking about what were these cleaned in a rainforest? What is all wet? What is wrong with it?
Oh, Eddie Izzard.
Yeah, it's so funny, man. Well, anyways, there it is. Oh, that right there. My paranormal world, our paranormal world.
See, you did it.
Well, whatever. It's there. It's Monica's paranormal world. And so, and see, look, Nellie heard you. She said, "You're still awake, honey." And so, yeah, but she did stick up for you, though. She's like, "You're just looking that up because you want to prove it wrong." And I'm like, I am not doing it to prove her wrong. I wanted to know if I was wrong.
I'll provide beer and pizza. This person hasn't heard my distaste for pizza.
I am never wrong. So it was very odd that I would be. I was like, what?
Absolutely not. And not to a woman. What kind of witchery is that?
Trying to accuse you of being a chauvinist. Don't try to shove your chauvinistry on me. No, seriously, I think what it is that I always believed that Tulpa was something that could be created by more than like one or more people. I thought that, but that's for another time. We can argue about it again later when you're wrong, when you're still trying to be wrong.
When I'm in a better headspace to accept being
Let me
wrong.
know when you want me to be on the show. I guarantee you it'll be a hit. I guarantee it.
Of course.
Okay. You've had two good guests on right now, what, Joe and Garitano, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely. And another thing too, like when you have different hosts and different people come on and whatever, you get more of out of people. Like there are different, like if you and I were to interview somebody, you could get more out of that person than if it was just me or if it was just you, because
Oh yeah.
you'll go down different paths, and so I think that would be another thing that we should team up together and do some interviewing of some people. I would like to get a few people on here, and then have us interview together. That would be a real, I think that would be a good deal.
That would be great. Yeah, I love having somebody on there with me. Like I had Breezy on with me when I'm sure you saw it with Chris. And
I saw a little bit. I've
I mean, it's just yeah, it's a different take, right? Because Breezy's going to ask questions that I'm not going to think to ask, and it's more fun. I just like it. Plus, if it's somebody that you have good chemistry with, then it's just a great conversation all the way around.
Yeah, for sure. I was going to say too, I'd like to get a panel together too and do some work with like you, Krista, Brandy, and maybe Anne Celine, and put it all together. I'd like an all-female panel and ask some questions and talk and just interview you guys. The same way I wanted to interview with Seth and I wanted to interview Eric Palacios and Chris Garitano, all filmmakers, and get their take on what they think the future is of documentaries. Greg Ogles, he's another one.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different people that have so much to offer, and if you put them together, you could get so much. Which was why the conferences were what they were, because that's what I wanted to do, is bring everybody together to be, But it seemed like that last conference was just a curse. It seemed like it just.
See, I don't think. I mean, I'm not seeing it from your perspective, but from an outside perspective, like my perspective, I thought it was a fabulous and a successful conference. I mean, from all the ones that I've been to over 20 something years, right? That was one of the most successful conferences I've ever seen, in collaboration and people getting together and people just getting along, and a unique take, right? It's not the same old up there talking about everything. And you had a great mix of everything.
Yeah. But a lot of people don't appreciate that. And it just seems like I became a target after that, and it's just that the attacks have been nonstop since the conference. It's just been a Ferris wheel of miscreants, and you try to, but I just it wears on you. It just wears on you, and it's wore us down as a team. We've got new blood now that has come in and helping out and doing stuff, and they themselves are just like, wow, dude, like they can't believe. Because they see the emails too, and they're just like, what in the hell is wrong with these people?
Yeah, it's just, it's insanity. And I mean, yeah, I've been in it for so long. Back, early on, I used to jump into fights and get into, like just battles with people. And it just drains you so much that I got to the point where I just completely ignored everybody and eventually just phased myself out of the whole community for several years, up until your conference, actually. And because it's not worth my time, it's not worth the I mean, it's just me. It's not worth the headache. I just extracted myself from it. So I understand where you're coming. Like, it's frustrating to have people just attack you for no reason. It's because they don't.
Yeah. And a couple of these people, they came out of left field and they just started attacking. And I asked people, I'm like, who is this guy? Like, does anybody know this guy? And nobody knows who he is or why he did what he did. His own colleagues even told me, hey, I don't know what his reasoning is or why. I think one of the weirdest things that happened to me recently was someone who was affiliated with 412. Matt and me are good friends. And he came out of left field and was just like, yeah, I'm just going to tell you this. I don't like you, but I'm going to tell you blah, 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 blah about him. And I'm like, why would I want to listen to somebody who doesn't like me?
Why would you start the conversation
Yeah,
like
it was very bizarre. And so, yeah, I mean, I appreciated him trying to tell, I guess, I don't know what am I supposed to do with that? Like, so they want to tell me all this stuff bad about people. But they're telling me, hey, I don't like you. And I'm like, wow, that is, you know, and then in those particular conversations, he's saying all these things. And I'm like, and what he was trying to do was instigate a war between me and a friend of mine. And I said, look, that's not going to work, you know, unless Matt
Absolutely
comes to
not.
me and tells me, hey, I don't like you, you know, which he hasn't. And we ended up having like a 2-hour conversation. And I'm just like, we've been in the same boat. I mean, he's just like, I'm done with this. These people, I can't deal with them. They attack you. They go after you, you know, and everybody's just kind of sick and tired of it. The booze and, you know, blah,
Well,
blah,
it's tiresome. And the only people that are falling for that BS, in my opinion, are the people that aren't thinking for themselves.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to listen to one person's story about another person and completely base my opinion on that person, you know, based on somebody else's story. It's going to be my interaction with that person that's going to be my basis of, you know, their personality in my life.
It should be.
Yeah, you know, because I can think for myself. I don't need you telling me what I need to think or what's right and what's wrong. I'm a very good judge of that all on my own. Thank you. You know, so you want to tell me something, that's fine, but
you don't seem like somebody who's going to be led around by that crap, you know.
No.
You and I have had nothing but positive interactions, and most people in the community can attest to that. And so what these people have done, mass messaging people, whatever, all it's done is led to a steady stream of phone calls of people telling me, hey, hang in there, you know, I'm sorry this is happening. And I thank God for that, because that their plans have backfired on them big time, because I was not doing that. I was not going to these people. And so all it did was make people say, hey, you know, let me check on Josh Turner and see how he's doing. And I am so thankful that so many people are my friends.
Yeah.
And they see also that I'm not doing that. I'm not politicking and going door to door and knocking on people's doors. And, hey, can I tell you about how much I hate this man and how you should hate him too?
Yeah,
and
but I mean, to what end? How, I mean, and again,
like,
you know, when you're doing stuff like that, how Christian is that? Like all these people, their platform is being a Christian, right? And pushing all of that, but your actions are the exact opposite of what Jesus was teaching everybody. So why don't you explain to me how very Christian is it of you to be doing that in the first place?
Yeah.
So explain that to me. Explain that to me.
And then saying it on every one of their episodes about how
it's ridiculous.
And they're not in it for the money, but yet everybody's donating money over there, and I don't care. They can.
But, I mean, people can do what they want with their money. You know, if they want to give it, you know, if they want to throw it out the window while they're driving down the freeway, have at it. You know,
I'm just not asking for it. He kept saying I was begging.
Well, I know you're not.
I've never gotten up here and begged.
But anybody who's watching the show knows that you're not.
Yeah,
you know, and the people that are basing their opinions on, you know, somebody else's gripe are sheep. You don't want that kind of person anyway, right? I want people that can think for themselves and have a like semi-intelligent conversation with me if we end up talking. You know, I don't want somebody who's just going to be like, oh, I don't want yes men following me around. That does me no good. I don't like it in business. I don't like it in my personal life. You know, I want people that are thinkers.
Yeah, and people who are yes men too, they build up a head of resentment. And then eventually that resentment boils over and they lash out and they attack you. So when somebody sits there and just says, yeah, and agrees with you all the time, they're really chafing under that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not oftentimes, it's not your fault. And it's not, you know, so I just tell people, look, don't do that. Don't agree with me. If you don't agree with me, just disagree. Like we didn't agree about the Tulpa thing, really.
Yeah.
Really
I'm not upset
I'm
about
messing with you about that. If you're right, you're right. I don't even know.
It's what I have. I will try to find the source and show it to you, just so you know. But you know, but that's okay. I mean, you can disagree with me. I'm not upset about it. I'm not going to go cry in my pillow tonight because Josh didn't agree with me. You know, it's okay. That's okay.
You do. I understand. I mean,
yeah, but do I seem like the type?
Yeah. Kind of.
No.
You go to sleep with the bat, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna get this.
No, I'm good. I'm
I'm gonna
good.
get you, sucker.
It's okay, Trusty. It's okay.
You're like, do you know where he is?
I did that. I was not kidding.
Wow, because dude, that happened to me. My brother's friend did that. His name was Keith. He had a friend that was such a turd, and I had a ring that I had gotten, and it was from years ago. My old boxing coach, and it was. I was very proud of that ring, and yeah, it was pretty. You know, I had this couple who was he was a coach, an old boxing coach, got me into boxing, and his wife. And I ran the streets as a kid, as a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
They would let me crash at their place, and they kind of look after me. They were an African-American couple, and his name was Matt too, actually. And so he died. He had stomach cancer, and he died years ago. But he was such a nice guy, and he coached at this place on the east side that I boxed at for years. He coached there. He took a liking to me, and get this. This is the kind of man he was. I'll never forget, Matt. What he told me, he says, you have the skills to be a professional fighter. This is what he told me. He was not blowing smoke. He told me this. My brother knows him. He met him. And he goes, but you're smart. He goes, and by the time you're 30, and he poked me in the head, he goes, this is going to be gone. And he said, and in good faith, he goes, we could do some damage. You know, you could do something with these abilities, but he says, but there's more to the brain, less to the boot, you know, and he taught me that. And he said, use that head of yours to do good in the world and talk. And he goes, you know, math, you know, science, you know, literature, you know all these things. He's like, you're a student of the world. You're a very smart young man. And he's like, and you're just going to get your head beat in, and you're going to beat other people's heads in, and you might win some fights and be somebody. He's like, but what good are you going to be when you're 30 or 40? And he talked to me about Muhammad Ali and how he was not able to talk good. And he showed me people, and he introduced me to a couple of old fighters that were kind of, you know, and he said, do you want that to be you? And so over a few dinners at his house with his wife is a very sweet lady, they kind of steered me away from it. And now it took a while. I did stay in it, and I did, you know, but eventually I figured it out. I said, no, you're right. I don't want that to be me. I'd say two or three. I'd say two or three of my really close friends, but I'd say at least a dozen of my friends stayed in and fought, and they fought for years, and a couple of them made themselves into champions, but they themselves admit to me that they have days where they just can't think clearly. It's, you know, permanent brain fog. And thank God I did take some punches to the head, and I imagine I would probably be a little more sharp if I didn't. And so I can only imagine what I could have been, but I can't type, you know, and my hands have all been, my fingers have been broken. I've messed up certain parts of my body. My jaw pops like that. It's like, you know, I get this and it hurts, and one side of my face is a little swollen than the other. And I know I have a skull fracture back here. There's a lot of things that could have been different if I wouldn't have put my body through that ringer, you know.
Right.
But the pain in my hip and my leg from doing that movement when you kick, you know, and that in of itself. And if you look at my shins, they're just tore up. They look terrible, scars up and down them. So I could have done differently with my life. But this man did convince me to not do it. And he could have tried to use me as like a meal ticket. He did not do that. And that says a lot about him. He was a true Christian. He didn't stand on the street corner and blab about being a Christian. He reaffirmed his faith, and he was very, very kind to me. And there were people who criticized him because I was, quote unquote, a white kid, even though I'm Hispanic, whatever. But they criticized him, and they're like, you know, yeah, brother, you should be helping the black people. Why are you helping that white boy? But I was a poor white boy, and so he helped me. And he took the criticism, and he said, Jesus said to help everyone. And so I learned a lot from that guy. He was a teacher and a mentor. And one of speaking of theft, I had, besides the ring that was stolen by my brother's friend, and no offense to my brother, it wasn't my brother's fault. That guy was a thief. But I had a trench coat that he had bought me, and somebody at the nightclub stole it my third day that I worked there at the Roxy. And that broke my heart because that was the last thing I had left from him. So rest in peace. He was a good guy. But I look at people like that God puts those people in your life, and they teach you something, and you take it with you for the rest of your life. Some of the lessons I learned from him, I'll never forget. So anyways, Monica, I'll be on your show. Let me know when. We got to do it, and I will
give you a date.
I'll help
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
You let me know when, and I'll try to work it out. Okay. So
Okay. Sounds good.
All right, folks. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening to PRT. And for Monica, I'm gonna let you run.
All right.
Don't hurt nobody.
I'll do my best.
So, everybody who tuned in tonight, thank you for being the best part of PRT. At the end there, I had to say a few words. I had said something to someone on the phone before I got on the show tonight, and I told them that I was going to say a few things. And I wanted to tell him I appreciated him for stepping up and telling the truth. But I don't want to put him on the spot. He is not in this. He's not in the middle of this. And nor are many and many, many people that they have contacted. They are not in the middle of this either. Okay. This is between me and these people. And nobody's asking you to choose sides, but just hear my side, because I am not the aggressor. I promise you. Okay. You have my word on that. And I'm not going to be. Thank you for tuning in and making PRT what it is. Tune in tomorrow night as we have the call-in show. And then, of course, Sunday is the big night where we usually get a packed house and we retell people's encounters. You're not going to want to miss Sunday, believe me. And then next Tuesday, we do it again. We have a podcast episode. And so all the people on Spotify, in the land of Spotify and Apple, are like, hey, where are you at? There it is. So, all right, guys. Thank you for being here. That's my brother. Thank you for showing up tonight. And everybody, I don't know where Scorpion is. Little Jake. That little Jake, he didn't show up. But pray for these guys too, because they're working in some bad areas, man. And you got to be these homeless people. Not all homeless people, but some of them are very, very dangerous. They're very violent people. They've done some outlandish, crazy things that you wouldn't believe. So we're fighting that. We're fighting these people in cyberspace. We're fighting, struggling to get moved. Everything is a struggle right now, but we're doing the best we can. And we continue to bring the show, even though we're going through all of this. I know at some point we will get out on the other side of it and we'll be okay. I trust in God. I do. And his son, my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. So everybody, thank you for listening and tuning in. Good night.
Thank you.